Legendary Nobodies podcast episode I don't remember. Yay!
We're back! You get to listen to us again.
Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
What episode are we on now?
I think it's 6.
6,
But I don't
7,
know what I'm going to count the ASN
8,
one as.
9, 10.
Maybe 5.5.
Count it as like 6 through 300, and then this will be 301.
Yeah, man, 301 episodes. Wow, it's been a long journey, guys, but we got there.
We did it. Still have those same 2 subscribers, Jason and Jason's mom. Jason's dad recently unsubscribed.
That's what's been going on in my life.
What has been going on in your life?
I don't know. Just things, man.
Yeah, same.
What about you, Peter? What
His
are you doing
parents
with your
recently
life?
discovered anal.
Yeah.
Damn. It's just long. You have thought.
After 3 kids, you got to figure it out sometime.
I mean, maybe they're like, hey, what happens if we do it in this hole? Nothing happens.
Finally.
So anyway, off of the hypothetical sexual histories of our parents, let's talk about anime.
Let's talk about the real sexual relationships of our parents.
So, I've been watching like 1 or 2 things from like the current streaming schedule of like current anime. So I started watching Twin Star Exorcists.
Is it about stars and exorcists?
Dude, I don't know where the fuck you're getting this idea that it's about exorcists from.
Well, what about stars? Is
Eric, it's like you hear words and you just pull random ideas out of the air.
What about ideas? And air.
I'm gonna put your hat down
No.
for the rest of you.
No. I need to know the answers to these things.
Alright, so the plot is about these 2 middle school age kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, one of them used to be, one of them currently is an exorcist. They are able to travel to like this alternate dimension of the world that
That's not how
they're
exorcisms work.
Now this alternate dimension, is it like a bad dimension, or is it just like a dimension where everybody is also, like everyone who's right-handed is now left-handed?
That would suck.
It's like one where everyone is bad, everything is bad, and there are like no people, there's like only monsters, and whatever people they pull in there to, devour their souls and whatnot.
Everything is darkness.
Got it. So it's like New Jersey.
No parents, lots and lots of money, kind of makes it better.
Not bad.
Anyway.
Moving on.
All right, so the male lead, he used to be an exorcist, but something went wrong and like all of his friends died. So now he doesn't want to do it anymore.
What a loser. What kind of loser doesn't have friends?
Yeah. It's like, you can't have friends. Look what you did with the last ones.
Yeah.
What a horrible friend. He killed them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he lives with his brother and these other 2 guys who are, like, they're exorcists too, and they're trying to, like, you're kind of, like, the best at this, so, like, get back in there. And he's like, I don't want to, because my friends are all dead now.
What a crybaby.
Yeah, right?
But you're the best at this. You killed all your friends, but you're the best. You got all your friends killed, but you're the best at what you do.
And so then the girl, she is like currently the best, like active one. It's like she does all these crazy, like, I forget what they call these. They got like these papers that they write enchantments on, and that like gives them their powers. No, they're like little tiny.
Like talisman.
Yeah.
I
so
know
like
anime.
they have their talismans, and then that gives them.
Talismans is not an anime based.
Peter, you don't know what anime is, so I'm gonna need you to shut your lying mouth.
It's all talismans, Sailor Moon, and cats.
Yeah.
It's the basis of every anime.
So anyway, what Sailor Moon does.
Sailor Moon does.
Yeah.
She helps Tuxedo Mask, got it.
Yeah, so they're both sort of like the top 2 exorcists, whereas he is like really good at it, but he doesn't want to do it anymore, and she's really good at it, and she wants to be like the best one. So like anytime like he's forced to join back into it and like like his hand is forced. She's like, "Grr, he's good at this, and I have to be better than him because he doesn't even want to do it anymore, and he's good." After he helps her out with this one, like really tough demon, she gets like moved into the same house where he lives with his brother and all of the other exorcists that he lives with, and they get gathered before like the head of their exorcism group, and the leader says, "All right, so really good kid who doesn't do it anymore, and girl who's really good at it now and wants to be the best, you two fight each other now." Because he's talking about how there is a prophecy about, like, there's going to be a child born who's, like, the best exorcist and will get rid of all the demons ever. Pretty boilerplate stuff. But while everybody's watching the fight, they're like,
They have sex and have a kid. I see where this is going.
Hold on. Because you're not quite right, but you're not quite wrong.
Yeah.
There was actually tentacle porn.
So he has the two of them fight, and the people watching are like, "Oh, so he's having the two best exorcists that we have fight, and then whoever the winner is must be, you know, the chosen kid." And so he stops the fight, and he's like, "Okay, so that just proved to you guys that these two are the best exorcists that we've got."
So one was Anakin Skywalker
Now,
and one was...
So for the twin star exorcist, who's like the kid that the prophecy is talking about, he says, "So neither of them is it, but what we're gonna do is, if we take our two best exorcists and we marry them and we mash their bits together, then they will create the kid from the prophecy."
Yes. Let us fuck.
Let them fuck!
Yeah.
And it shall be done.
Fuck for Jesus.
Bring them to me, and they shall fuck.
Yeah. So they have kind of like the odd couple thing going on, but they're basically forced to be like, "Okay, so you two are engaged now, and you're going to be married to each other because we said so."
Because we have the power, and we have a really big guy to make you do it.
We call him Mordecai.
Mordecai, in, out, in, out. Yes. Oh God, it hurts.
So like there's like the really conventional stuff, like how they fight the monsters in the other worlds and all that stuff. You know, you've seen this stuff from like Bleach and all that. But there are points where it goes like against its convention, and they can make it really more unique. Like the monster designs, I kind of like. They're a bit samey. They're like these horrible blobs covered in like multiple faces and stuff like that. But I mean, they look really cool. Like, it's obvious the animation budget goes mostly towards the fights and everything. But the two leads, when they're not being like their, typical archetypes, they have some pretty good moments. Like, the guy like sees the girl as like, "Oh my God, I used to be like that, all idealistic and shit." Because like he keeps not wanting to be an exorcist, but keeps getting like pulled into stuff. But I like that. He's not like, the generic bland protagonist. I mean, he seems like he's going to be when they start out. Because, like, he asks out his classmate, and she basically says, like, "Why should I?"
Do you want to go out with me? Why?
She basically tells him, like, "What is interesting about you?"
You see... I'm a guy.
That's pretty much, like, his only answer to that.
I'm not.
But, like, they do show that they start to give him a character with, like, him being tortured with his past, and he's, he's cynical, but if his hand is forced, he will, go back to his, his abilities and stuff. And, the girl, she seems like the standard emotionless, like, blank character who just, like, says, like, really blunt things or slightly sarcastically or almost never speaks otherwise.
All your parents are dead. Damn.
It's like, well, ain't that a bitch?
And your dog, too. Shit. And it had puppies. Oh, well.
But they have this thing with, like, they tease about this past, like, something happened to her brother. I'm assuming he's dead, but...
Classic off-screen badness.
Because, like, she sees these two kids who later get kidnapped by the monster, and she has to get pulled into the Exorcist world to stop it. But she, like her expression changes, like, she actually, like, you know, feels something about, you know, the brother and sister playing. Like, she goes, oh, that's so nice.
Right.
But it's also, she, what's the word? She, like, has this air of superiority because she's trying to be there, and then that's threatened by the guy who, like, he already was that.
Right.
Yeah, so there's, like, some really good dynamics there. I've seen, like, the first 3 or 4 episodes, and from what I can tell, it's supposed to go up to, like, 50.
And it's, like, a brand new series?
Yeah, they just started it. It was either, I think it was, like, spring streaming season or winter that they started it.
Interesting.
There's only one thing that's kind of off-putting to me is that the male main character, he is basically forced to be, you know, an exorcist. He's not allowed to, like, decide anything for himself. He's being forced into this. Like, he's like, well, what if I don't want to be an exorcist? But then nothing but bad things happen until he is one. Because, like, even the girl tells him after they help save some of the other exorcists, she says, look, normally I hate you, I hate your attitude and everything. She goes, but when you're doing the exorcist stuff, you are pretty cool. And I'm like, well, what if he doesn't want to?
Right.
Like, he did, you know, witness this death at the hands of him being an exorcist. It's not clear yet, like, how much of his fault, how much, you know, extenuating circumstances there were. But I mean, you know, if he wants to do other stuff, let him do other stuff.
I want to be a dancer. No, you're an exorcist now. No.
Nay, father. I mean, it is a pretty enjoyable series. I just hope that, like, because of the episode count, they don't, you know, get bogged down in filler and stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like, they are starting to introduce some side characters, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be, like, what takes it from, like, a good series to a great one, or to a really shitty time waster one.
Or, like, they just start rushing the ending because they're like, oh shit, we had 50 episodes and we didn't plan it out.
We spent 40 of them at the beach.
No! Those beach episodes were crucial. Look at all the plot that came out of it.
Fanfare.
And if you don't know what I'm insinuating by plot, I mean boobs.
Which I hope, because they're supposed to be in middle school, they kind of don't have a lot of that.
Jason, this is an anime.
I can dream, Eric. I can dream that one day the Japanese won't sexualize kids that are 13 years old.
It's hard to do it with live actors because they look 13, but in anime, they can make them look as old as they want to, and they can be like, look, they're 13. They're clearly not.
Like Yoko from Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
She's 14. La 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 la.
She turns
la,
12 this year.
So yeah, cautiously optimistic. I do recommend checking out Twin Star Exorcist, even though it's a little heavy on, you have to do this. You have to put it in her, and you have to be an exorcist.
You have to pork her, kid. But what if I don't want to pork her? It's like, you have to do it. It's like, oh God, you're not telling me.
Close your eyes and think of Natalie Portman. So, Eric, you were watching Hero Academy Boku no Hero Academy Hero Boku.
Academy Boku Hero Boku yes Boku no Boku yeah Boku no Hero Academia. So If you don't know Boku no Hero Academia,
He got it fucked up.
it's another like Western style superhero anime, but yeah, I guess
more Western style stuff has been coming out. I've noticed.
Yeah, more Western style, and it's like another superhero anime. So, but it's more like shonen. It has a little bit less focus on comedy than like One Punch Man.
I was gonna say they saw One Punch Man and were like, we want some of that money.
Well, that's like there's a lot. Actually, there's a couple like Western like superhero anime. There's like One Punch Man, Tiger and Bunny. Let's see, Samurai Flamenco,
Sailor Moon.
There was one more that I had at the top of my head that I just forgot.
Who's the other Sailor Moon one?
There's the other Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon Crystal.
Yes, actually. But pretty much like the basic plot of it, it's like the same as like any like kind of shonen anime where it's like kid who always wanted to be a superhero, not so like the basic like backstory of this universe is like from a young age people have now started developing superpowers. And our main character is one of the fucking stupidest, unlucky few that did not get superpowers, even though he really, really, really wanted them.
What a whiffer!
I know. Like any other kid in like a time of like a period of, oh, you have superpowers. You can have superpowers now. I want those. No kid, get fucked on. You don't have any. So pretty much all his life, all he wanted to be was a superhero, and he kind of just got shat on and never developed any like superpowers. So pretty much it comes to the point where like they're all splitting off and going to like these different academies to like train as superheroes. And he's still trying to get in, and he's still trying to like pursue his dream of being a superhero, even though he has no powers. How he's going to do that, he doesn't know.
So wait, this is like the anime of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, kinda. Until eventually, hey, a big bad, like one of the most powerful superheroes in like the universe, whose name is actually called All Might, like weirdly enough, comes by and like actually gives him like superpowers.
Wait, he got the power from the villain?
He got the powers from the superhero.
Oh, okay, it was a superhero.
Okay. He's like the best superhero like alive, pretty much.
Did he charge him anything?
No.
Like why? Like why?
So without trying to give too much away.
Jeez, Jason, just give it all the
so pretty
away.
Much like
yeah, don't worry, I'll save that for you.
Within the first couple episodes, like these villains attack and they pretty much like they like capture his best friend and they're like gonna kill him. So he goes in and he like tries to save him even though he has no powers himself.
And then the superhero guy sees that.
Him. Yeah, he sees that, and like it actually is kind of interesting because he ran into him before and he actually asked the questions like, even though I have no superpowers, can I still become like a hero? And pretty much even the main heroes is like, no, like you really can. Like he actually tells
Superman flies down from on high to go, kid.
Yeah.
You are shit out of luck.
Yeah, no. Well, he's like, well, like without superpowers, you're really like more risking your own safety and like the safety of any superhero you go with. Like,
yeah,
because like
true.
they're gonna have to like try to save you and they're gonna have to try to support you. So it's like, I'm sorry, but there's really no way you can become a hero. And then he sees him.
Why don't you try to fight cancer, asshole?
Yeah. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Oh, really?
So, but he sees him like still trying his best to like be a good person, try to like save his friend. So like pretty much after the battle, he's like, well, I have to apologize because like, I'm sorry, but you actually can become a superhero. You have the ability to do it.
I changed my mind.
And like, there's like some weird other things, like pretty much the most powerful superhero, All Might, is actually looking for a successor to his superpowers, as he's like one of the only superheroes that can actually pass on his power. So pretty much he just passes on his power to like this guy who's the main character. I should have mentioned his name.
Guy.
His name is Deku.
Yeah. I was gonna say he just like sees the first person.
Yeah. No, he passes on his power to Deku. And, like, he pretty much is, like, the whole anime is, like, built around him learning how to control and, like, become, like, the best superhero he can possibly be. the other reason All Might, funny you mentioned cancer. It's not really cancer, but the reason like All Might has to pass on his superpower and he's taking kind of like a back seat to the whole superhero world is because like at some random point in the past, like he fought a bad guy who wounded him so bad he can only be in his superhero form for like 3 hours a day.
Ooh.
Because like what his superpower is he pretty much is like he gets like he like hulks out almost. He gets like a steroid buff, like not like fueled by anger, just like he gets super strong and he can like utilize like a bunch of power. And so pretty much when he's in his superpower form, he's this big buff muscular guy, like generic superhero with this big doofy smile going like ah ha 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 sort of thing. And then when he's not in his superpower, he's just like this really skinny, like weak looking guy. So pretty much like when he passes on his power, he just gives like the whole steroid power to Deku, which kind of like gives like a little interesting aspect to his character.
Remember, kids, have no effort, power will be given to you, and do steroids.
Yeah. So like pretty much the power he gets, he can't really control that well. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like when he uses his full power, he actually injures himself. Like his bones and his body can't like keep up with the strain of all the power he uses.
This kid sounds like Rock Lee from Naruto.
Yeah, almost in a sense. Like
only less annoying.
Like the first thing he does, like when he gets his superpower, is like when they're trying to get into the academy and they're trying to fight all these robots to like prove like their strength and like their superhero aptitude sort of thing. And pretty much there's this big ass robot that comes in that like no one is supposed to beat. It's supposed to be like an obstacle like you're supposed to avoid. Pretty much he jumps like up into the air and beats it with one punch. But one punch! But he gets to the ground and like almost all the bones in his body are broken. Like his leg is broken because he jumped up and his leg just shattered from the force of him jumping. And when he punched, his arm shattered from the force of him punching.
Well, that's interesting because like people have brought up with any superpower like super strength or flight or super speed like that, they would need some kind of, secondary power to act as like a buffer for that. Yeah. That would, be able to keep the person in doing that stuff. So that's interesting that, he doesn't have anything to, buffer him against.
Well, it's because he was never meant to have that superpower. He was passed on to him.
Right, so his body's not, his body is not ready.
Like, within the couple like episodes prior to him actually using the superpower, like All Might pretty much tells him you have to train your body in order to contain it, because that was the other half of it is like it's also sort of comedy in a sense. Because he's like, oh yeah, like if you take in the superpower and your body's not able to withhold it, your body's pretty much just gonna explode. He's like, what? What's gonna happen to me? You're gonna die, kid.
You thought I was gonna die.
But yeah, it's pretty much like,
tell you what.
It's almost like a typical shonen high school anime sort of thing, since it has that academia.
Well, how does he like do anything after his arms and legs are all broken? Do they have like someone with healing powers to fix him up?
Yeah, so the school nurse is like a superhero called like Heal Girl or something, and she can heal people. Like, so pretty much like that's like their excuse of how he can like do all these things and break things. And also like, of course it's not finished yet. It's in like production right now, and I think they're like halfway through the season. And like they're already starting to explore the fact of like, okay, like you have the superpower and like you kind of have to be able to control it better. Like right now he can only either be at 0% power or 100% power. So like there's some like training he has to do in order to like be able to like use his power, be like super strong without breaking every bone in his body. But yeah, like let's see what else about it.
But Peter was gonna pull one of the hairs on my leg, and I was gonna pull on one of his, because if it's go time, it's fucking go time.
Yeah. But yeah, there is also like a good comedy aspect to it. Like one of my favorite scenes I ever in the anime. It was actually the GIF I saw of it that made me want to like watch it. Is he's walking into the academy and he trips over something and like a girl like saves him from tripping. She pretty much like she catches him and like puts him back upright and she's like, oh, you gotta be careful there. He's like, and she just walks away. It's like, I did it! I talked to a girl! It just has this big doofy grin on his face. So there's like a good comedy aspect to it. It's not just like,
oh man, can I ever relate?
Yeah. It's not just like, oh, I just gotta be the best and I just gotta like, be a super strong superhero. They're actually like having fun with it. And the one thing is the last thing I'll say about it that I really like, and it kind of like mirrors some of the reason I like One Piece a little bit. They're trying to build this big expansive world out of like, the superhero academy, like out of like this universe. Mm-hmm. And you can see them trying to do different things like, okay, you got to go to school to become a superhero. And then you got to like work under the government. And like, there's all these supervillain sort of things. And like, it's more about building a universe than it is just saying, here's how it is, accept it. But like the one thing that I like about it more than like One Piece is like the episodes, they feel long and they're very like self-contained like plot points. It's not like, oh, you get into an episode and it's like, okay, we're doing a test to see if you can like get into the academy. And it's like the episode passes like, okay, we're a minute into the test. Like I think when they actually do the testing for the academy, they're like, okay, you have a 5-minute time limit. And I think the episode actually has like
they'll do it in real time.
They'll do it in real time where it actually like elapses 5 minutes and then it's like, okay, the test is over. It's not like, okay, 20-minute episode and we did like 30 seconds of stuff.
or like 5 episodes on one battle.
Yeah. Like everything seems very like planned out and very like self-contained and it's a lot of fun to watch. Like it's a lot of fun to like actually watch an episode and be like, wow, I felt like something actually happened instead of like watching an episode like I can't wait till next week to see things like pan out for this.
Yeah, I mean, with how popular the manga series has been, at least here, it's not popular in Japan.
Right. And I saw a poll for like the anime like that they did in Japan, and I guess in Japan the anime's not doing so hot. I mean, I saw it on Kotaku's, and I don't know, like, I think they said they only interviewed, like, 100 people, so it might not even be fucking true. But, pretty much, like, I could see that, though, like, because with a lot of these series, like, I think even Tiger and Bunny didn't do so well in Japan, but it does really great, like, in the Western market.
That's because we just slurp it all up.
Because we cannot get enough of fucking superheroes.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see how that turns up.
He opens it again.
You mind not ruining the recording process?
Not really.
Alright, so other anime that I got through watching recently was actually based off of a mobile card battle game.
Ooh.
And the English version of which was shut down this past February.
Why did it was?
I don't remember.
Probably because it's not as good as... it's not quote-unquote good as Magic.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, when you hear a show based off of a mobile card battle game, like, 1, you don't expect the budget to be very good. 2, you just don't expect the show in general to be very good. And both of those things are amazing. It's Rage of Bahamut Genesis. I saw the first 2 episodes dubbed, the rest of it subtitled. But for what I've seen of the dub, they have Ian Sinclair playing the main guy. I know he was Chuck from Panty and Stocking.
Chuck.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay. That still doesn't really tell me how good his voice acting is, because all he did is chuck,
right,
chuck.
He just was like, chuck. I can't think right now of of what else he would have been in, but he fucking owns this lead. he gets that the character type is like this. Best way I can describe it is like a Bugs Bunny type wise ass.
Oh, okay.
Like it's set in like this medieval fantasy world. He's got this doofy like red afro.
I think I've seen like screens of it, so I think I
probably.
Yeah.
What I love is that he will, when he's talking to somebody and they're like trying to be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
Like when he says his line, he'll like mock their voice.
Yeah.
Because it's just like a thing that I don't see very often from like this character that's meant to be like goofy, but so he's got his like straight-laced rival and everything. He's essentially a bounty hunter of monsters. So, he finds the monster, he captures it, he gets the card, like in the card battle game, and then he gets his reward.
So he defeats a monster, then he imprisons him forever in a card to fight for his amusement?
No, he doesn't battle with them, it's just to collect them and then turn them in for a bounty.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he captures them and then sells them into slavery for other people's amusement.
He just sells them. They don't really go into what happens after they're captured.
Of course they would.
Probably sex.
Into the stone cards. Yeah, this is probably sex. The whole thing about it is it's like based in the universe where all these cards and everything are, but it's not about, battling with the cards. It'd be like if Yu-Gi-Oh! Took place in like a world populated by all the monster cards and everything.
Oh, okay.
Seems like a subplot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Somewhere.
Only with much more fun and stuff because like I was talking about
since card games.
Yes, it's more fun than card games.
On motorcycles?
Yes.
In hell?
But like because of how much this character is like meant to be just like this really affable foil to everybody. Like he's not annoying, but he's clearly having fun with like everything that he does. Like the whole thing, especially at the beginning, is mostly a comedy. Because there's this bit where the guy that he's fighting, he's like summoning this creature, and like the pentagram appears and everything, and it's glowing, and then nothing's happening. He just kind of looks around, like, okay. And then the like terrifying monster, like his head comes out of the pentagram, but like the rest of him, like it stops there. Then this dog just like walks across the pentagram, like starts just sniffing at the head.
Yeah, it's the head of Exodia.
Yeah. But then the rest of it comes out, and then the actual fight happens. But just including like little stuff like that.
Yeah, just like a little side humor to like a more serious subplot or a more serious plot.
Yeah, because it does get more serious, a little bit convoluted. Because there's like the plot is like Bahamut, the like horrible monster apocalypse demon thing. He was banished by a combination of like Satan and Zeus, who are from two different mythologies. Yeah. But they like teamed up and combined their powers to seal him away, and now they're like, oh, and someone's trying to bring him back now.
Yeah.
Jason.
Combination of Satan and Zeus and Gandhi.
Jason.
So he meets this girl, Amira, who is essentially, she appears to be like a witch or a demon. I'm not going to spoil what she actually is. But basically, she has this normal form that she can turn into like her demon self.
Did you just spoil it? You said she's not a witch or a demon, but she has a thing.
Kind of.
She can turn into a demon.
Well, if you look at like how the form looks, there's like no other way to describe it.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, it's like she's crazy fighting badass, and like he meets her while he's blitzed out of his mind.
Like you meet most girls.
Yeah. Yeah, always good experiences with that.
Yeah.
I want your baby.
Whoa, Trevor. Slow down. I need to know you're ready to commit first.
Yeah, so he basically gets...
Trevor.
Yes, you
You did. Just like at ASEN.
Yeah, I kept calling you Trevor at ASEN. I was like, I don't know why.
I am not a big, fat, white male.
So anyway, Amira.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. Excuse me.
So she says, so I need you to take me to this place, and he doesn't actually know where it is. but he thinks she's hot, so he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally all over that."
Oh.
Girl wants me to take her places.
Yeah.
I got it.
But
as long as
so
it leads to your bedroom, baby.
yeah, so it's like of the 4 leads, there's like, you know, the guy Ian Sinclair plays Favreau. There's Amara, who Tia Ballard plays her in the dub. Who I don't know what you know her from, Eric. I know she was Misa in the English version of Rosario Vampire.
Don't even remember that.
Yeah, because the English dub wasn't out when we reviewed it.
Yeah.
But
I didn't watch it.
But she's been in a few other things. I know she did. She was Tifa in, at the very least, the Screw Attack thing where they have the 2 characters fighting each other.
Yeah.
I actually got to talk to her for a few minutes at ASEN a couple of years ago. I was just asking her about like voice acting questions, like about agents and stuff.
Oh.
So, I mean, she's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally super lady.
Super lady.
Yeah. So then you've got
She's a nice lady.
nice lady. Yes. Then there's those 2. The guy who plays like the straight guy to all of Favreau's bullshit.
Yeah.
And the guy who's playing him, he's such a, like, he hams it up so much at, like, the scenes where he's yelling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's really funny in his own right. Like, towards the end, there's, like, this big apocalyptic battle on, like, floating islands and stuff. And he keeps getting, like, knocked off of the island.
Yeah.
Like,
Damn it!
yeah. Basically, like, he gets knocked off and he goes, "For the 3rd time!" And then they befriend this little girl who's she's a zombie and a necromancer.
Yeah.
So she like plays kind of the straight man to everybody else's bullshit. There's like different levels of it. So, but there's this running joke about how when people are like getting off topic or something, she will throw her arm at them and it will punch them, and then like it'll boomerang back to her.
Ooh. So like Snake. Yeah, that's Snake from the new one, where it's just like rocket arm.
Yes, like zombie flying pimp slap kind of stuff.
Or what Jonathan Zoom punch.
Yeah, it's just like it is really good at playing with your expectations.
Yeah.
Because like you think Favreau, you know, the main lead, like he's this goofy guy, but then he's also got like this serious side to him. Like he fully understands the situation. He just likes to crack wise.
Yeah. Like we all do.
Yeah. But there are moments where it'll be like, oh, well, obviously he's still a good guy, where he's gonna do this. And there's as much very slight spoiler at the end. There's a bit where he is trapped by this demon, and like there's like no hope for them. Mm-hmm. Like he and his friend are trapped, mm-hmm. and they're about to like start unleashing the end of the world stuff. And he, with all sincerity, says like, "Wait, come back!" And they're like, "What is it, human?" And he goes, "Can I join you?"
Dying kind of blows. I don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah, stuff like that, where you're not expecting him to say that.
It's just kind of like, oh yeah, fuck it, I'm done.
What you doing there, Pete? You doing something that needs to be done? No. All right, so Rich Bahamut, it's 13, 12 episodes, so it's pretty short, and there's like no time wasted. They just cover a lot of ground with all the episodes. The only complaint is it gets a little convoluted with the angels and demons and all this stuff that goes on, but yeah, really solid. You know, I'll probably pick it up at some point, like physical media,
nice.
What have you.
Whenever that comes out.
It's already out. Oh. It came out like a couple of years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah, really good. Probably the best performance I've seen from a lead in like a long, long time.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Nice.
ReZero.
ReZero.
So is that like within the Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night stuff?
It is not.
Sweet. That is enough.
So it's another like kind of anime where the main character, which I'm actually blanking on his like name actually. We'll just call him Bob for now. I actually blanked on his name. Mainly because like he's interesting, but like as far as like the things that happen to him are more interesting. So okay, Bob, typical day, just walking around, gets transported into like kind of a fantasy type realm. It's like another one of those scenarios where it's like
Poor
the main
Bob.
where the main character just is like now he's in a fantasy world where it's like magic and like demons and like stuff like that are like prevalent. Can I help you?
Clearly, I want the back scratcher.
Clearly, you're not getting it. Yeah, what now? What now? What now?
That. Damn it. Anyway. Go
Anyway.
You get it upside down.
So
There's a
Bob,
roller on the back, you plebe.
Bob gets transported into this fantasy realm. And one of the kind of like funny things that they do with the Bob that they don't do like in a lot of
Bob.
With Bob that they don't do in like a lot of other like kind of like scenarios where they do this. He's completely okay with it.
You just like screw my regular life.
Not
This
even
is
that.
life now.
Like, not even that. He's not like, oh, well, my life in like the other world sucks, so this might be interesting or anything. He just kind of gets like transported. He's just like, I guess I'm in a fantasy world now.
I guess this is life
happening.
now.
And it's just kind of like the most like you get out of it. You don't see anything where he's like, oh man, I just need to figure out how to get home, or I wonder how like my life is like in the other side.
All right,
like,
this is what this is.
He's
now.
just like, nope. So are we worshiping the sun, or what are we doing?
It's literally like he just gets there. He's like, guess this is my life now.
Yep.
Cool, neat.
He just walks through it.
Hey,
like,
look, a cute girl. Which, so yeah, he's like wandering around, and yeah, lo and behold, cute girl arrives. He's like, oh, neat, hot girl. I'm gonna follow her.
That's pretty much all you need to kickstart the plot. Just girl happens.
Yeah, so pretty much like this girl appears who, her name is Amelia. She's like classic kind of tsundere kind of character, like, she kind of lets on like she likes him, but not really, like, sort of thing. Pretty much like
it's not like I like that your dick is inside me.
So like the first kind of subplot is like she has like this insignia that's stolen from her, and like they have to go find the thief and like find it. So pretty much like the first like episode is them kind of faffing around, like looking for the insignia.
I can
kind of
faff
like
to this.
Yeah, kind of like just kind of walking through the world like, hey, look, there's fucking like lizard men, and these people are trying to steal my wallet. Ha ha. And at the end of the first episode, Bob dies.
Well, spoiler alert.
Well, okay, but it's kind of like it's one of the like the main plots around like the whole series.
So like dead?
He's like dead. Like he actually gets like stabbed, and he actually dies. Like they go through in detail of him slowly bleeding out on the floor. So you think, oh wow, that's the shortest anime I ever heard of. One episode and it's done. Well, yeah, actually, it's like he kind of has
sort of like that upcoming review.
Yeah, he has kind of like a checkpoint save system, I guess. I don't know. They haven't really explained it a whole lot, but like, for lack of a better term, think of it in like a video game. Like you have checkpoints. Like if you walk along, like, oh, you have a checkpoint here. The next time you die, you just go back to your last checkpoint.
So he's not really dead.
He's not really dead. He still dies, and he still feels pain when he dies. Like, he still goes through the whole dying process of slowly bleeding out.
And he just blacks out, and then all of a sudden, boop.
Yeah, he just flashes back, and he's back to where he was, like, at the start of his checkpoint. And that's kind of how, like, that's kind of how, like, the whole series goes. Like, right now, like, they've only done, like, 2 kind of, like, plots, really. Like, it's still an ongoing series, so we don't have, like, a whole huge overarching plot, really, yet. We kind of do, but it's a little, like, back burner right now. Right now, it's more just, like, you're presented with something, and it's more of like kind of a mystery sort of anime kind of thing. Like, oh, like the first one was like he has to find this girl's insignia, and now that he knows like he dies at the end, he has to find a way, like he has to find this girl's insignia without anyone like dying from it. Which he like runs into multiple scenarios where like the girl dies. Like,
so wait, does everything else reset?
Everything resets.
Him?
Like time pretty much rewinds, and he goes back to his checkpoint.
So he's the only one. He's the only one. Checkpoints.
He's the only one who even knows that the checkpoints exist. So which kind of leads to like another interesting kind of like character building sort of thing, because like every time he like checkpoints, like anything he did to like deepen relationships with other characters is reset. So, like, in that first, like, plot, like, in that first, like, kind of, like, subplot, like, he had to meet this girl, like, multiple times and, like, befriend her multiple times. And, like, things he figured out about her in, like, one, like, playthrough isn't,
I'm getting, like, a Groundhog Day, Edge of Tomorrow, all you need is kill feel from this.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you know, like, things he learns about, like, certain characters, like, in one, like, time loop aren't preserved into the next time loop, which is like it becomes more prevalent in the second subplot where he's in like this mansion, but I'll just focus on the first one because it's kind of like once you kind of figure out like how the like story's set up, you can kind of see where like other subplots kind of go in a similar fashion. So like pretty much within the first subplot, he has to figure out how, like where this girl's insignia is, befriend the girl, and make sure she doesn't die or anyone else like he runs into dies. Like one time he finds where the insignia is and he's trying to get it and then like meet up with the girl later, and pretty much he convinces like the two people who stole it to give it back to him, but then like another girl comes and she kills them all anyway. So it's like kind of finding out who like in the end actually kills him, and then like what to do to prevent that or like to circumvent that sort of. So it's like a really kind of interesting kind of time travel mechanic sort of thing. Like it is very like much Groundhog Day, where it's like he's repeating like the same things over and over and over again, slowly learning more things about like the days, and then like
now
resetting.
Do they do the thing where it's like they'll reuse the same animation from it, or will they do like the Endless 8 thing where they do the same scene reanimated?
It's not. They don't really reuse a lot of the animations actually.
Wow.
Not that I like can tell, because like each playthrough, like each like time he respawns, like he doesn't try to do the same thing like twice.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, like, it's not like he respawns and he's like, okay, today I went to the market, and then I did this, then I did this. Then I guess, like, maybe here's where I fucked up. I need to do something else. Like, I'll talk about the second subplot a little bit, because they explore kind of, like, him, like, rewinding, because he dies a lot more the second time.
How far are they going to go with this? I mean, if he's going to... What if he's eating like a bowl of food and then he gets food poisoning from it? He's going to checkpoint.
So the reason I say checkpoint is because every time he gets past a point of death, he gets another checkpoint. So like he's only gotten like 2 checkpoints at this point. Like the first time like was right when he got into the fantasy realm. Like he checkpoint right back to when he like first entered. Then the second checkpoint, he like wakes up in a mansion, and like a few days later, he's dying for some reason. And he doesn't know why. And it actually like kind of does that. Like the first time he dies at the second checkpoint, he just wakes up one day. He's like, I'm back to the first day. Did I die? Sort of thing. So like in the second subplot, they kind of explore a little bit more of like kind of the uniqueness he like walks through. Like his first time through, he's like working in this mansion, like just kind of like making his way through life. And then like the second, like, and like in another playthrough, he's like, okay, nope, I'm a freeloader now. I really just need time to like go, like have free reign to walk around and learn more about like these people, sort of thing. And like another kind of interesting thing about like the whole checkpoint thing, if you don't know, dying kind of hurts, especially when people kill you with like swords and like maces and shit like that. Or at like one point, like his arm gets chopped off, and he's just like, And, like, at one point in the second
His
subplot...
arm get chopped off, and then he's like, well, this is life now.
No. Unsurprisingly, when he's dying, he's, like, screaming and crying for his life, because it's like, this fucking blows! Oh, God! So, like, actually, at one point, in, like, he's just like, okay, I don't know if I could do this anymore. Like, one, this dying thing, this fucking hurts. Like, I'm just gonna run away. Like...
And I mustn't run away.
And, like, there's the whole thing, he's like, since it's like, he doesn't know anything, he doesn't even know why he's checkpointing, like, pretty much. He just knows it's happening. So he's like, he gets concerned of, like, well, I've already done it, like, 3 times. Before I died 3 times, like, can I die a 4th time and still come back? Like, how
like, does he have a live system?
Yeah, like, and there's actually a point where he's just, like, really thinking, like, I don't think I can do this. Like, he just pretty much breaks down. And he's like, he's trying to run away. So it's very interesting, like, the way they set up the universe. And I can see them doing a lot with it. Where it's like, it becomes a lot more like of a mystery anime of him trying to figure out, like, okay, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And the context of, like, the checkpoint save system just kind of makes it, like, kind of interesting to see, because, like, you're sitting there like, okay, is he not gonna die this time? Is he actually gonna, like, is he actually going to succeed? Like, at one point, I think you think, oh yeah, he's fucking got it this time, he's fucking cinched it, and then he dies, and you're like, well, shit. And even him as a character, he's like, well, fucking shit. But yeah, it's very interesting, and it's also nice to see, like, a different kind of way of handling character relationships. Because, like, it's the whole thing of nothing he does in a playthrough, like, where he dies, like, matters really anymore. Like, it's very much more prevalent in the second subplot, which is, like, maybe 4 episodes in, I think, where, he'll find stuff out about certain characters, and then he'll die, and he'll, like, get back into, like, the next, like, playthrough and be like, oh yeah, so you're like, I know that you did this, and like, how did you know that? Like, or actually, this is a good example. Like, in one of his things, he starts learning how to read and write the language of, like, the fantasy world, and, like, he dies, of course, at the end, and then he comes back, and he already knows, like, a base level knowledge of how to read and write, so he doesn't need, like, people to teach him that. So, like, they'll ask him, like, oh, like, write this down, and, like, he's going through, like, oh, okay, like, I didn't think you could read and write. Like, he's like, yeah, I could do it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I can do it, bro.
Like, he starts gaining knowledge from, like, dying so many times. But yeah, it's a very, like, interesting kind of, like, it's an interesting universe and an interesting concept, so I would recommend at least giving it a try. At least watch through, like, the first, like, subplot. Like, it does have a little bit of a romantic kind of fallback, but it's not very prevalent. It's not like they don't throw it in your face constantly. It's very much more about, you know, Bob. Again, I don't know. I keep forgetting I don't remember the main character's name, but it's very much about Bob, like, trying to figure out, like, all these different mysteries he's going through. It's not much about Bob and Amelia, like, kind of trying to hook up. They do that a little bit because, you know, it's anime, and if there's a romantic subplot, it has to be there, like, in some sense, or not there at all.
Yeah.
So, but it's not like the main focus.
Did you notice how nobody else laughed at that?
Yeah.
See, that was funny.
Good job, Jason.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good job, Johnny.
Yeah.
All right.
ReZero.
So, Mysteries with Bob. Good show.
Bob.
Messing everybody's
All
name
right.
up, huh?
Civil War. Because, of course, Civil War. Pete.
La 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 la.
I thought it was okay. I mean, it didn't for me. It didn't have as many superheroes as I thought it was gonna have. It was just that, like, 5-on-5 or 6-on-6 or whatever it was. However, the story for it was interesting. The ending, when you get ending was crap. I mean,
what was the story of it? Because Eric has his ears plugged thoroughly.
The story of it.
Yes.
Well, I know, like,
what's like the. I don't know. What are they fighting about?
Okay.
No, Google's listening to us.
Basically, Bucky. They tried.
Captain America's friend, the Winter
Somebody
Soldiers.
tried to blame Bucky on an
His
explosion.
parents?
On an explosion.
They blamed an explosion on Bucky, you mean?
Right.
Okay.
And-
Because you said they blamed Bucky on an explosion. I'm like, well...
Like they put Bucky on a bomb. Like, it's your fault. What?
An explosion.
You stole the cookie from the cookie jar. No, I didn't.
Bucky. Captain America knew what, that he didn't do it, and so he's trying to get Bucky, try to talk to him, this and that, and while Iron Man's like, well, and they were also having a feud between how they're going to go with this Avenger thing. Are they going to go government or are they not? Iron Man says that thinks that they should stay more of a knit as a team, and go, because of how many different times the world has been destroyed by them, in
Iron
New
Man,
York and
Iron Man is more of the ideal of, since superheroes do have the potential destroying
planet.
they most of them use their powers for good, but they're still like massive killing machines if used for the wrong purpose or improperly trained. So like a government regulation will help mediate that. Like I know in the comics it was the reason it came about was an untrained superhero let a supervillain get away, and the supervillain blew up an elementary school.
Right.
So that's a trained superhero would know not to fight in a populated area, especially around an elementary school with a villain that could blow up, because that could just cause disaster. So the whole idea of being government regulated is these superheroes can get the training they need, they can get the resources they need, we can ensure that anyone who's trying to do good can do good right.
Captain America's on the more of the front of, well, we know that we're doing good. We don't need somebody to tell us that we're doing good.
Well,
he's the idea of the good Samaritan sort of thing. It's not something we're not doing this to be recognized by the government or anything else. We're doing this because we want to do good. That the minute the government comes in and tries to regulate who can do good and who could do evil is when we've truly lost.
Right. And you might want to close your hands for the Black Panther part. Bucky was framed.
So you obviously I didn't know how much you wanted to actually spoil about it.
All I'm gonna say is Black Panther, from the comic that I've read, some of the Marvel, there's gonna be differences. There's gonna be a couple of differences. You're gonna see Spider-Man as well. Spider-Man was covered briefly. I did not personally like how he was portrayed in it, but he was kind of played as a little bit of a pansy, just a bit. But
Eric is singing over so that he doesn't hear anything, even though Pete's not spoiling anything.
Yeah, and but I mean, like I said, Spider-Man was portrayed okay-wise. Not the best, I would say. You got the overview of the summary of the story. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be the movie of the year, but it was a pretty good movie for what it was.
Would you recommend it to me? Because I saw Ultron and I was like, wow, this is really disappointing. I think I'm done.
If you like Captain America as he is right now, or as you see him right now, as this good, person that's, then okay. But if you're gonna see Civil War, the ending is gonna might annoy you.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm a little skeptical about Civil War, and most of the reason I haven't seen it yet, because I've read the comic, like I've read the story overview, and when I saw like the trailers and like kind of like a little bit about how the plot's going to be handled in Civil War, I got kind of sad because of course I always knew like if they did Civil War in the movies, it would be like it would have to be at least 10 years before they actually did like anything even close to scale of the comics. So the comics is like it's a large fucking event where it's like every superhero you can name is pitted against someone else.
That's just like the.
And it's just like I know in the movie universe they just don't have that capacity, nor would they even be able to do that in a movie series.
Right.
Maybe a TV series.
Unless maybe an animated movie, but that's about it.
Yeah, and just kind of like the context of like the initial like discussion of should heroes be regulated or not. It just seemed a little weird because the trailer definitely pushed it to more of like Captain America be like, Bucky's my friend.
Right.
He's not a bad guy. Government bad. And then Iron Man like, shut up, Captain America. Government good.
It's like way too extreme on both sides.
Well, yeah, just kind of like, like the little thing becoming like the little spark becoming something so much bigger.
Yeah.
At least in the comic
The
books, you
little
could
Stark getting so much.
Yeah. Where it's just like, oh, we want to arrest like Bucky, and it's just like, oh, now it's a superhero versus superhero brawl, and it's just like it doesn't make a whole like it didn't make sense at the time I saw the trailer,
and it still doesn't make sense now.
Yeah. At least in the comic books, you could see where this is a point of controversy. Like, hey, the superhero, like he just kind of went on and YOLO swagged his way through life, and he allowed this fucking supervillain to blow up an elementary school, killing like 50 kids and like a couple teachers and stuff like that.
You have like the closest characteristics to Ant-Man. Yo, YOLO swag, yo Hardy, dude.
But like I could see how that's more of a point of controversy in the comics, whereas in the trailer to the movie I saw, I was like, I don't understand how this is like a big deal. This seems more of like Captain America versus Iron Man than it is like pro-regulation versus anti-regulation.
Yeah.
Like, sure, in the comic books, it kind of boils down to like Captain America versus Iron Man at some points, but it's very much more like one view versus the other.
It's like more about the ideals in the comics, and in the movie it's more about Captain America versus Iron Man.
Yeah, that's what I got as an impression from the trailer. I have not seen the movie yet. I have been lazy.
Pete, how accurate?
Accurate.
And there we go. You heard it here, folks.
We know everything about movies we haven't even seen.
You can contact Peter and you have questions or concerns or angry comments.
All to Peter.
Yes. He is our PR rep. He speaks for us.
Schomburg P.O. Box, if you need it.
Alright, so on the DC side...
DC side, the animated, good old animated movies that DC makes, which I do approve right now. The artists that draw, as artist wise, what do you like about the new?
About like the new style and everything? Yeah. I mean, I think that some of the older characters, from what I've seen, guys like Superman and Batman, look a little young for my liking. Yeah, like, I've seen stuff from, what was it, Batman, Superman, Apocalypse, that, the Supergirl story? I didn't like the looks of a lot of the characters. That's just a personal opinion about the art style. It was like...
They revamped everything, yeah.
I mean, it's not so much that, it's like there's more stylized stuff, like, the Bruce Timm style for Justice League and Batman, Superman, all that stuff. And then there's the super more realistic stuff with shows like Gargoyles with the human characters on shows like that. But, like, we've sort of entered where there's a weird mix of that. And I can even admit that I have noticed a trend of that in some of my artwork, where it's trying to find the balance between style and more realistic, because you go to one or you go to the other, or you go into that weird gray area where characters can look like really uncanny valley-ish.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's a style that they've kind of been working on for a while.
Well, yeah, let me see. The first movie, do you remember the first movie that started with that art style?
I don't remember what the start of it was.
I think it was a War, wasn't it? Justice League War?
It could very well have been. I have no idea. I've seen some stuff from, like, what was it, Assault on Arkham?
Yes.
Where, for the most part, I did like that stuff, but it's like, I don't know, it's like you have that style, and then you have to animate it the right way.
Right.
Because if it's going to be, more stylized, then there has to be, like, variance in between very subtle movements and then very big movements. You have to have them at the right times and everything. And then more realistic stuff, you have to keep it towards the, it has to be more subdued.
Right, it has to be more like...
Like, even when you have big, powerful emotions and stuff like that, you can't get too crazy with the faces.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You can't, because...
And that's why it's really hard to do with superheroes, because you have people with really human and normal faces. Then you got, the Joker and Killer Croc and guys like that, where there's always a little variation. They've never settled on one design for those guys.
Yeah, that's true. Now...
Excuse me, my art minor was showing.
Now,
Gross.
have you personally seen Justice League and Teen Titans yet?
I have seen clips of it. Like the preview clips they put up on was it WB?
Yes.
Like DC or WB or whichever YouTube channel they had that up on. So I've seen clips of it, and it sounds like they've gotten some, like, newer, younger voice actors, because the voice for Raven, she sounds very, very much like I've seen YouTube channels where like more amateurish voice actors have like posted stuff on there, like they're doing a fan dub of something like that. She really sounded to me like she had that fan dub voice more than the character Raven, like how you've seen her on like on the old Teen Titans series.
No, guys, not Teen Titans Go.
Aww.
And it just didn't sound as much like, a character to me. Like, I don't mean like do a super wacky character voice. Woohoo! It just didn't sound so much like.
It didn't. She sounded, the voice for her sounded more like of a little white blonde haired girl. That's what I kept on picturing. I'm like, Raven needs more of a little bit darker, kind of more of a gothic kind of voice.
And she sounds like that quiet girl in high school.
Yes.
Like the one who would hardly speak when she did.
She kind of talk like this, like she wasn't quite sure about anything.
But no, but that's not who Raven is. Raven's more like, yeah.
They were really
sure,
playing
I
up.
will destroy your soul.
They're really playing up like the teenage stuff with these characters, like, the young, early high school or like even late middle school kind of aspects of these characters.
Yeah.
Because, like, when you have Starfire being one of the older members of the team, because she was basically like the team mom almost, like, for those guys.
Yeah, and which really confused me when I saw it, because I remember Raven and Beast. Wouldn't Raven and Beast Boy be about the same age as Starfire and Nightwing now? Because they did start all together in Teen Titans. Did they not? Or are we just?
They did,
like
but
that?
I mean, with rebooting and then alternate character interpretation, you gotta give them a little leeway there.
You kind of just, like, take what they give you, and it's just like...
it's just like, okay, you're going to do this with them, then it's just how well do you do it?
That's true with like a lot of like
I mean,
superhero like either movies, shows, or whatever. It's like there's going to be like alterations in like what they are, so it's better just to like kind of take what they give you.
But I mean, yeah,
Without...
but it would be very nice to see what would have happened if, like, as as everyone knows, Cyborg, Nightwing, and Starfire all grew up and got way much powerful, new abilities. What would have been Raven's? As she got older, she would have, we would like to see what she would have done, what more powers she would have found out about herself, how Trigon would be even less of a threat to her now, like things like that, and it's just like out the window now. It's like, oh, now we're gonna have to read.
That was the other thing where the writing, I did not really like a lot of the writing.
The writing was
because they're talking about like, Raven's talking about her tragic past with her mother and Trigon and all this stuff, and it was like Beast Boy or Robin who was like, "Whoa, so like she screwed a demon?" I'm like,
it was Beast Boy.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude. Like, she just opened up to you, like, and revealed all this tragic stuff. That is not how you respond to that.
It's just like if someone's like, my dad beat me when I was little, and you ask, how was his right hook?
Well, yeah, it was very uncharacteristic of Beast Boy to say that, because
like
he's
a little immature, but he's not a dick.
In the show. And throughout all the comics that have involved Beast Boy and Raven, you can see that there's a huge love romance between them that they just blew out of the water in Teen Titans vs. Justice League, whatever the hell it's called. But I'm just like...
The thing I just watched.
Yeah, that one thing.
So you're really just mad because they ruined your one true pairing?
No! Beast Boy Raven forever.
Was subpar. The thing with Trigon in it, they didn't. It was. I thought they were trying to build Trigon to be this bigger thing that, when it came to it, kind of fell short of the mark.
The other thing was, I was telling you earlier, they do that scene where they have them all like do that team building thing by they all go to the carnival.
And then they all have their dance class.
They're playing their fucking, whiny emo song over it. Tell me what it's like to feel. I'm just like, I was watching that and I was like, no, fucking really?
No! No! No!
And then they had a Dance Revolution fucking.
Oh yeah, Dance Revolution, that thing that's still
music.
relevant.
To emo music?
No, not the emo music.
Sulking Simulator.
just sit on the ground and cry.
Yeah, you just like step like 1 inch to the left and 1 inch to the right, and you get the high score.
But I mean,
like, are you fucking serious with this shit?
I mean, I did also see the other one they made, the Atlantis one.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The other movie.
The one I clearly haven't heard about.
And there's
the other movie. I like that movie.
Yeah.
There's the newest one that's coming out, the first R-rated animated movie for DC, the Killing Joke.
Oh yeah,
the one that Mark Hamill's coming back for.
Goddamn right.
The one he's like, this is the only one I would come back for.
So the only one I would come back for is the Killing Joke. Make the Killing Joke.
And they have
do it, ship it.
They just said it's going to be rated R. It's going to be their first
rated
time
R.
First time any animated superhero movies gotten that rating. So screw that, Marvel.
I do. I do hope that it's good because I really do like the Killing Joke, the comic.
I think that comes out soon. I don't know when. I'll look it up for you
Coming
guys.
soon!
Coming
Coming
soon.
soon.
Theaters
Rated
to you.
R this Friday.
This Sunday.
Rated
Derek
R.
Coco.
All right, so speaking of DC, I talked about a few episodes ago about how I was just kind of lukewarm to the original Batman, the animated series. So I had heard how Batman Beyond was also really, really, really good. And so I was like, all right, let's check out season 1. Let's see how they did. And I actually kind of like it better. There was the opening scene to Batman Beyond, which was like how they got basically how they got it signed off on, like how they got people on board with, okay, yeah, this is definitely going to be good. It's not just going to be a stupid teenage Batman.
Right.
The way they start off the series is there's a scene where Bruce Wayne Batman is in his, like, you know, Batman suit in the future, and he's rescuing this girl from a hostage situation. But while he's fighting these guys, he starts to have heart problems and he has trouble breathing. And this one guy gains the upper hand on him, but then he sees one of the bad guys' guns. Batman doesn't use guns, but then, like, he sees, like, no way around this, and he picks up the gun and he points it at the guy who, like, goes, like, he has this backup moment. And Batman's still able to save the girl, but then he was like, I'm at the point where I just had to break my rule to save somebody.
This is a gun.
Oh my!
This is a gun?
As soon as you said,
I
like...
thought they were taking a nap.
Yeah. As soon as you saw, I was like, he picked up the gun. I was like, I just saw that clip, like, right away. Like,
Yeah.
This is a gun? Shh. He's sleeping.
Look at the poor little guy. He's all tuckered out. What you did to your fish is what you did to these guys. I overfed them.
Say, see, when people fight me, they get tired. Because I'm so awesome. Then they have to take a nap afterwards.
Okay, so then...
Anywho.
10 years later, this teenager named Terry McGinnis, whose dad works for, like, this conglomeration between Bruce Wayne's company and this other company. There's this gang that's inspired by the Joker. They call themselves the Jokers, and they ride
where
around.
they got the name from.
Well, clearly it was the Jokers from Akira, because that was actually the inspiration for their bikes. But
Nice.
anyway, they chase Terry out to, like, the middle of nowhere where Bruce Wayne's, his mansion actually is. And he helps Terry fight them off, but then he, like, starts having heart problems again. Terry helps him inside and discovers that he is Batman. So...
I'm Batman.
So then Bruce Wayne takes him in as, like, all right, so you will be the new Batman. Like, you're going to take this up for me, and you're going to keep your mouth shut about it, Morty.
Morty.
You're going to be Batman, you're going to like it. But what if I don't want to be Batman? Then this is going to get a little messy.
Morty, you just drove over the whole Justice League. You killed them all, Morty.
Ram down the Batmobile, Morty. I'm going to teach you how to frame people for it, Morty. So, Greg Weisman, who worked on, Young Justice and Gargoyles and everything, he also worked on this. And he initially didn't really like Batman Beyond because he felt like the character of Terry as Batman was too similar to Spider-Man. Because he quipped a lot more than Bruce Wayne did. But, I mean, they still have a slightly darker tone. They have, it's still technically a kid show, at least for the first season. I don't know how much they went beyond, the teen demographic for...
I get it. How much they went beyond in Batman
Beyond. Don't touch me. Anyway.
Anywho.
So they still have to have, they they have like their anti-steroid episode, stuff like that. They deal with drugs is bad plot lines, but then they also they take the time out to like not just have Batman's old villains like somehow reinterpreted. They work to give him his own unique bad guys, which admittedly a lot of them from the first season aren't very, very strong. Like most of them are just analogous to like Scarecrow or the Joker or
his own villain, Scarecrow, but in the future called Carecrow.
Scarecrow.
Crow Scare.
It's just like this guy in like a full body suit who like controls people's minds. Like he makes them believe they are going on some epic quest and really they're just stealing for him. Or like this one guy who he was trying to have steal and then Batman catches him. He makes him think that he's like getting his war buddy out like during Vietnam. So he's like attacking Batman, who he thinks is like, an enemy soldier. But, and they did bring Mr. Freeze back. They had him, like he was a frozen head and then they gave him a new body and stuff like that. But it only lasts for one episode. Spoiler alert.
Oh, man. You ruined it.
I know.
Don't watch
I was
now.
sad because Mr. Freeze is actually my favorite Batman villain.
Yeah.
But they gave him a really good send off, and they did give him one supervillain who was really good. Ink. She's this assassin who is essentially able to turn into like
Ink.
yeah, she basically liquid, or she can
turn into milk. Yes.
because she can like turn her body into like weapons and stuff,
Yeah.
like slicing and
She
what
has
have
like
you.
a fluid body,
Right.
Yeah.
and she could do things with that.
But
Yes.
there she could barely even dream of.
one, because she has a really good design, and two, because she like actually poses the most legitimate threat, I thought, in the first season. Because in her first appearance, she discovers, who he is and that he's Batman and all this stuff by, the Batmobile is black. She, like, forms her body around it so that when he drives it back to, Bruce Wayne's mansion, like, she, gets out of the car and, like, starts attacking them when they're vulnerable. I'm like, wow, that was actually really smart. Why weren't all of Batman's villains this smart?
They're like,
Because
oh,
it's the future, Jason.
yeah,
Come on.
Jason.
Give a little credit to our public schools.
But then how they defeat her in her first appearance is they use Mr. Freeze's ray that, Batman has, that he stole from him. But in her second appearance, he brings the freeze gun. He's like, well, gotta do this again. She immediately destroys it so they can't do that again.
Seems like a smart move.
Right, I'm like, this is actually a villain who clearly thinks about what she's doing.
It's
She's not just using her gimmick, she's actually being smart.
Yeah, she's just like, oh no, you got me again with the same move. How can I?
Shucks.
Shucks, you brought out the freeze gun again.
It's like if the Penguin realized, hey, penguins aren't that threatening, maybe I should use something else.
Go, my minions. Go, my goons.
Bills be wars. That's not Penguin's wars.
But then, like, what else was really good was because my main problem with the Batman animated series was that Batman was just so, like, he was such the perfect guy. Like, he was brooding and everything, but he had, like, the exact perfect life.
Yeah.
And, like, he was always, like, right. He, like, almost never made a mistake.
Yeah, it's like, what are you complaining about?
Right.
Sort of thing. Like, it's like, oh, man. My life sucks after sipping on champagne and banging
I'm
supermodels.
still not over my parents' murder.
Didn't
We
that
need to
happen?
have sex at least 5 more times.
Didn't that happen 20 years ago? Yeah, it's really rough.
Like, not to downplay anybody's loss, but like,
like super.
Shut up!
Again with the fucking Pete Holmes thing. It's like, didn't your parents die? How can you say that? I was a boy, and now I'm a bat.
it's like Superman lost his entire race.
Yeah, they poked one of that Pete Holmes skit. Man,
Yeah,
those
I
Pete
know.
Holmes skits are fucking great.
But it's like in Justice League, you know, they gave more context. You know, I think they characterized him a lot better. But what they do in Batman Beyond is they show like what all of that actually led to, which is that he's a bitter, broken, lonely old man.
Yeah,
It was like,
like the constant stress and like stuff like that.
well, like how he always was like, no, I can never commit to any woman.
yeah,
I must be the Batman. And then he just ends up alone, as
Yeah.
opposed to like in
Like
the
it's-
series they just showed him like, oh, I can just hop from Catwoman to Lois Lane and whoever I want.
I can bang anybody because I'm the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like the constant years of shooting himself in his dick just kind of pile up, and he's just like, "Wow, I really fucked myself, didn't I?"
Yeah, so like it's allowing him to be like, okay, so he's actually much more of a character now.
Yeah,
He's, you know, this humorless old man who is kind of hard.
If I remember right, all he was like, the only thing that he was thinking about is justice. Justice. Everything must be justice. Like,
Well, like, because Terry has a life that he's balancing. Like, he still has his mom and his little brother, you know, and a girlfriend back home.
is she hot?
I mean, Bruce Timm isn't really known for drawing ugly women.
That doesn't answer my question, Jason.
Well, considering he's the one who drew it,
Oh, okay.
you can kind of draw your own conclusions.
If I wanted to draw my own conclusions, I could go back to school.
But there's an episode where like she basically, you know, calls it quits on him with like how many times he has to keep running over to cover story where he's like, oh, my cover story is that I'm assisting Bruce Wayne with stuff because he needs a personal assistant. And so she gets angry about like all the time he's spending over there actually being Batman and not enough with her. And so he actually, you know, confronts Batman with he's like, dude, can I have something resembling a life? And he like just kind of plays him off where he's like, you'll get back together next week.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's what he's used to. He's like, whatever, women in their feelings, she'll get back together with you. I don't care.
She doesn't understand justice.
Right. But then they also have Barbara Gordon, who was Batgirl. She is now like the police commissioner. She took over for her dad,
Mm-hmm.
and she is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, she like takes no shit. You know, supervillains end up going after her because one, connection to Batman, two, because she's, you know, the police commissioner.
Because she was Batgirl, so she
Right.
kicks ass.
But like, you know, she left it.
Yeah.
And she like comments about, you know, Bruce never being able to leave. Like she got over, you know, the crush that she had on him and everything. Like, cause it's hinted at that they were a thing after Robin left.
After Batman's distractions left.
Yeah. But she just comments on like, you can't keep, you know, doing this. Like she comments on how many sidekicks that he brought in and everything.
Yeah.
So she like keeps trying to get Terry to, you know, leave Bruce and like not perpetuate this thing
Yeah. That he's
of
doing.
Batman.
Yeah.
That's what you do with a character, you know, to make them interesting. You have to, you know, test them. Like how Batman wasn't the only viewpoint in Justice League. So, you know, there was conflict and...
Yes, I love it. I love the Flash's cut when Batman would say something in the Flash. Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
But no, What did you think of the Batman Beyond and his the uniform change and the style change?
I mean, I like that they had to be like, okay, we can't have, the same
Right.
suit over and over and over and over again. It can be iconic, but then there's also, you have to improve over time. So I like how they, bring up, oh, the suit gives you like, enhance this, enhance that. It's more computerized, more streamlined. It's I do like the design for the suit. It's just with with a lot of the darker colors and stuff, there's that balance you have to strike with. Okay, we can have the dark suit and the dark car and the plane and all this stuff, but you also have to have the city well lit, or it's just balancing that stuff out. But I feel like they've been doing a pretty good job of it. Hopefully in the second season they keep expanding on things. With the character of the new Batman himself,
Terry?
Yeah, Terry. I know I do like him. He's just more of and I want to say like average teenager. But then aside from like the quipping and the slight twinge of I have to get vengeance too. There's not a whole lot to him, but it's like we talked about before. Batman will be like, he's always going to be, the least interesting character in what he's in. I have seen clips from the movie where he fights, Terry as Batman Beyond fights the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get, some more personality with how he fights him versus how the original Batman would fight him. Like, he allows himself to, be more emotive. He, like, laughs at the Joker, but he's like, I'm laughing at you because you're so pathetic. And, like, he actually turns the Joker's thing on him and gets him, irritated with his quipping. He goes like, I thought you always wanted to make Batman laugh. And Joker gets really angry and goes, you're not Batman!
So he's trolling him.
Yeah. Which I do like that more, if they continue along that line, I would definitely love it if they had more of like a troll Batman as like a troll character.
Troll Batman. I just want to see a troll Batman. the TV show.
I mean, he and Bruce Wayne do have like some really good character chemistry. He sort of gets involved with a member of like the current Royal Flush Gang. You don't know who that is.
No.
Flush Gang is, huh?
They're playing card based supervillains. But he like gets involved with one of them, and he's basically forced to turn her in, even though he likes her.
And she's hot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she was kind of his rebound after his girlfriend broke up with him. But when they're like taking her away and everything, he's talking to Bruce Wayne and he goes, you ever have a situation like that? And Bruce Wayne just kind of goes, let me tell you about this lady named Selena Kyle. Or when, again, with the whole now he's lonely thing.
Yeah.
I'm so lonely.
Yeah.
I'm so alone.
So yeah, Bruce Wayne says something like, women used to throw themselves at my feet for your information. And he goes, what did you do? Step over them? Smooth. I thought so.
Yeah. It's like I had Alfred throw them to the curb.
Yeah. So yeah, I am definitely enjoying it more. Hopefully season 2 is just as good because I'll probably be picking that up soon.
Nice.
Yay. So the Flash.
We're keeping it DC still already.
Yeah, we're like 0 for 3 now.
The Flash, I mean, on a side note that he's my favorite character since I was like a child.
I couldn't tell with your constant Flash t-shirts.
No.
I couldn't tell with your constant flashing in public.
If you ever read the comics, there's changes in there. You'll notice, if you read them, you'll notice the changes. If you haven't, it's not a big deal. season 2 has started. Did I mention season 1 in the podcast before?
Nope.
Okay, so season 1, I guess, of The Flash, and then I'll talk about season 2.
How about let's just talk about season 2 because Eric didn't talk about season 1 of Daredevil too much.
Yeah, shut the fuck up there. Daredevil. So season 2 of The Flash. Basically, the main villain, or who we had thought the main villain was Harrison Wells. Wasn't Harrison Wells. If you've seen season 1, which is not shouldn't be a spoiler at this moment anymore. He died, and now, but Barry made a rift in time that now the Earth 2 supervillains are bleeding through to Earth 1, and somebody else bled through, and that's Harrison Wells. But this is the actual Harrison Wells, not the...
This isn't the bad guy Harrison Wells. This is the good guy one.
He is searching for his daughter that Zoom has taken away from. Which, ironic, is, if you know The Flash and the storyline of The Flash, then you know Jay Garrick. Jason, do you know who Jay Garrick is?
I've heard the name.
Jay Garrick is the Earth 2 Flash.
There you go.
Yes. He's the guy that, if you've seen like pictures of Flashes, he's the guy with the little metal helmet on and the wings that looks a bit like Hermes. That's Jay Garrick. So he's in there, and the Zoom's in there, and it's basically, overall summary is they're trying to figure out a way to get all these little rifts in time in their city to close. Obviously, since this is a CW production, they're going to have Arrow in there occasionally popping in. They're going to bring in Supergirl as well. There's going to be a huge crossover between all three shows. I mean, I like the show. I like the writing. Have you seen any of it?
I have seen about 5 minutes of The Flash. I've seen like half an episode of Supergirl, and I did not like either.
I've watched like maybe the first 6 episodes of season 2. Maybe like 10. And then I stopped watching because, I don't know, it just seemed really like a rehash of season 1 almost. And just kind of some of the way they were trying to solve some of the way they were trying to defeat some of the villains just seemed like really doofy and made no sense.
Yeah.
The one I always like to talk about is the Magnets one, where there is Mark Hamill was in one of the episodes in season 2.
He's the trickster.
He was the trickster, and so what he did was like he put a bunch of like bombs and presents that he handed out to a bunch of kids as Santa Claus, and so like there's a bunch of bombs all over the city that are supposed to go off unless like he kills the Flash. So the way they like kind of mitigate this is they do something with magnets. Like they put a bunch of magnets together and throw it into a portal to Earth 2, and like
they reverse they do some kind of science thing.
They try to sound. If it sounds like we're trying to like make shit up, it's because that's what they do. They try to make shit up, make it sound super sciencey. Like, oh, if we reverse the magnetic poles and then like throw
reverse the polarity, that solves everything.
But then again,
and then
but then again, it is Star Labs, and that is even in the comics, that is what they do in the comics. Is they, as you quote unquote say, make shit up. Mm-hmm. But they kind of that's what. So it doesn't. So it's
but
not
like
really
they already
like it's not
done
really,
the bomb subplot before, and they did it better. They did another episode where it was.
I'm not saying they did it worse or
I say they did it worse
or better than before. But what I'm saying is, it's not. To me, it's not. Because I know so much already about Star Labs.
They did the almost exact same problem where they're like, there's bombs all over the city. You have to defuse all of them at the same time or none at all. But the way they solved it at that time was the Flash can't be in multiple places at once, but he could run people to those places. So that's what he did. He ran everybody to a location of the bomb, and they all defused them at the same time. And that was a better solution than just like, I don't know, magnets throw them into a portal, and then all of a sudden you see all these bombs fly through windows.
I'm not saying it was a bad idea. I'm saying is that Star Labs, and knowing that Star Labs makes shit up, like as you say, it wasn't out of characteristic. It was not like a weird thing that just come out of like nowhere. It made sense because of that's how Star Labs was.
You're taking this very personally.
Yeah.
Well, I know way too much about DC, and Trevor knows that. So.
Oh, it just seemed like a weird.
It was a waste. It was very much a waste. I mean,
like
the idea
there's
of,
a way to
whoa.
make it sound like it could work, instead of just saying like, oh.
I mean,
I just think it was mostly just bad writing on the part of like exposing this idea of how it could work.
I mean, they're still trying. I mean, it's season 2. They're not. So hopefully it get better in time. But I mean, I think a lot of their money right now is going into, and it shouldn't be, but it's going into special effects because you see.
From what I've seen, I would disagree.
Well, no, the Flash's special effect, and just the Flash's special. Everybody else's special effect is subpar compared to, like, the main character. We have to put all the money into the main character. No, take your money and even it out so that the whole show looks good as a whole.
Here's the thing, look, I'm not gonna knock on the effects in the sense of like, it's a TV show on what's the network? Is it
CW?
CW. Okay, so they're not going to have the highest budget. They're going to do what they can and all that. But I don't like the TV feel to it.
Yeah.
It just feels, so small.
Yeah, I mean, and so is, like you said, Green Arrow. And when I saw Supergirl, I did not care for that at all. I didn't care for it. I didn't like the story. I didn't like where they were going with it. It just seemed out of character for the whole. They just seemed to say, okay, we're just going to call it Supergirl, but we're just going to give a whole different story.
It is it's pretty much a no-win situation.
Yeah.
Because to save on money, you can focus on the more personal stuff, but then even if you're developing the character, people are going to, tune into this because they want to see, the Flash or Supergirl, using their powers and stuff like that. I don't know, but like, it is a very hard balance to do. Like, I don't envy the writers and special effects people who have to work on those shows, but I do not like the looks of them. I don't like the writing, and even the costumes I'm kind of iffy on too.
And you have to remember that almost still, technically, superhero shows, like even Marvel too, they're still all relatively new.
Yeah. The thing I think that a lot of DC stuff suffers from, like The Flash, The Arrow, and Supergirl, is CW definitely has a very specific kind of writing style. They very much try to like ham-fist in a lot of drama sometimes. I mean, and that's just not with superhero shows. Like, I remember I used to watch, Supernatural, like when it first came out. That was another show that was very great in the early seasons because it was very unique, very new. They did a lot of cool things, and then in the later seasons,
Still going on?
It's still going on. It's crap. In the later seasons, they just started trying to ham-fist all this like really heavy drama into it. And it's just like, you see, that has a time and a place, and it might, it's okay in some occasions, but when it's almost kind of like the main focus of your show, it gets really old kind of really fast.
All right.
I mean, like, some of the reasons, like, you watch a lot of these superhero shows is, like, I want to see the superheroes be superheroes
Right.
most of the time. I don't want to see them like run around and be like, oh, life, it's so hard. It's just like,
because like what you're saying, the companies like CW or whatever, they're like, oh, we're trying to make it more family for the family, so the wife can watch it or the kids can watch it, and they can all have a good time. It's like, no, this is a superhero TV show. It's supposed to be centered around superheroes.
I mean, and that's like, I think Flash kind of got the short end of the stick on that deal as well, because I think the Arrow was the first one to come out, and I think probably at the beginning, what a lot of CW shows, because it's probably the same with Supernatural, they're just kind of like, do what you want, make the show what you want, and we'll just kind of like hang back, see how it goes. Right. And once it starts getting more successful, it almost seems like they try to like
weasel their way in and kind of like shift it to be more of like drama heavy and stuff like that. And I think since the Arrow did so well when the Flash came in, they're like, well, this is going to do great. Maybe like let them do what they want for a season, and then we'll try to like weasel our way in.
Right, because that's where it is. Like I love the first season of the Flash.
Right,
like, and then that was awesome. And then like the second season, it seemed like some things kind of repeated themselves. Like some kind of plot points repeated themselves. Like the characters had some like just made some weird decisions.
Because like you said, like the Reverse Flash. Well, the season 2 counterpart of the Reverse Flash, Zoom,
who's almost identical.
And actually, as a huge DC nerd, Professor Zoom, and or all three names, Reverse Flash, those are all the same damn person.
Yeah, they're all the same person. And like, you know, I've discussed this with other people, and people are like, yeah, Cisco Ramon was like one of my favorite characters in like season 1 because he was quirky, he was funny, he was smart without actually having to try to sound smart.
Yes.
Like he had some like plausible deniability there, like things he said, like okay, like that might not be true, like in a scientific sense, but like you say it or you like present it in a way where I can see, okay, that's possible.
Right.
And in the second season where they started like giving him his stupid power where he's like he could kind of see the future, but
I think that Cisco Ramon does get those powers in the comics,
but it's totally different, right? It's like he has more vibrational powers in the comics, doesn't he?
If you guys are lost, don't worry, I am too.
No, he does have the ability to open up time rifts between portal, but he was able to do a lot. His abilities were a lot better presented in the in the comics than it was in the show. Yeah, and they didn't do it like so like half-assed.
Yeah, in the second season, Cisco like loses a lot of his charm. He's very more straight-laced. He's brooding over having these powers, and he doesn't know how to tell his friends and how they'll react and stuff like that.
And then with his brother
and then like the way he gets his superhero name is honestly the funniest stupid shit I've ever heard. So okay, for Jason and everybody at home, Cisco Ramon's superpower in the Flash is he can like kind of see the future, but
of people.
Yeah. They kind of force this in a lot. He's just like, oh, I just get this.
We have to use it. We have to use his powers.
He's like, I just get this vibe, and it almost is like delivered exactly like that, where it's very like you could tell they're trying to like force that like vibe in. Like I touch people, I get a vibe about them, and
it's funny. Like they don't do that when they reference when they had reference to Aquaman in the show.
Yeah,
they didn't keep on saying, "Wait, who does he know?" Oh yeah, I know Aquaman. You know Aquaman, the guy that swims. They didn't keep on.
It'd be like if you introduce Superman, he's just like, "Man, I'm a really Superman." I wonder what my superhero name should be.
When I go to restaurants, they ask me Super Salad.
Yeah, man. I guess I'll be Superman. Yeah, that sounds good. And it's just like it seems kind of lazy, almost in a sense.
Yes, I mean, as I'm gonna keep on watching the Flash, and if it gets better or worse, I'll let you know.
The one thing that I will say it's a little weird how CW does their shows. They take way too many breaks in between, like the season.
Well, like if
Are you saying you planted a bomb? Hey, shop at Wendy's. Yes, I'm saying he planted a bomb.
No, okay.
Oh boy, Bed Bath and Beyond.
So like, what I meant by that is like, you know how some shows will do like a mid-season break, and they'll do like the first half of the season. Like Agents of Shield does this. They'll do the first half of the season. It'll be like a contained plot break, and then while they pan out the second half of the season, it'll be like a month or so, and then they'll finish out the season, and then it'll be done. The Flash has had like 2 or 3 of those. Whereas like during Christmas season they braked, and I think they finished on like a solid plot point, and I was like, okay. Then they came back, and I think they went on for like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Then they took another break, and then they did a couple more episodes, and I think they broke again. And now we're just I think we're still waiting for like the season to finish up.
No.
And it's just like, when you do that, it kind of makes you hard. It makes it hard to like follow the show.
Kind of makes you hard.
Kind of makes you hard.
I mean, like if TNT got these Arrow, The Flash, and Supergirl, how different would these shows would be?
It's definitely a network thing. I think with CW, it's just like with these DC heroes, it's kind of like how Marvel. A lot of people are like kind of rallying, crying like Fox should just release all the rights to like their Marvel franchises, and Marvel should pick them up, and then we'll be all happy. I think probably soon it'll be the same thing, but with CW, it's like CW should just stop.
Yeah.
Should let someone else do it
before you butcher everything too much.
Yeah. Which, who's the main studio that's doing all the movies?
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers? Like, that's it. Warner Brothers CW as well.
Warner Brothers is, I think CW is part of Warner Brothers. Right?
That's silly. They should get another channel.
Well, they could do it on TBS, because they are all TBS is underneath Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see like who overlaps, like as far as like directors or writers for like those shows, and see if there's like one particular group of people that are just kind of like writing these shows in such a way that.
Or there you go. You could put Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl onto Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
give
Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi.
Yes.
Always known for quality programming.
Yeah.
Put it on Discovery, okay? We'll do a documentary on the Flash.
Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley is a show on HBO. It airs after Game of Thrones. So that's actually...
So it's met with tears.
Actually, I'm looking more forward to Silicon Valley every Sunday than Game of Thrones.
Blasphemy.
I know, right?
You're out of the podcast.
Fuck it! I'm out of here! So Silicon Valley, if you are familiar with The League, like it's a show like it's about like fantasy football, but it's very much a comedy. I like to describe Silicon Valley in the same vein almost, where it's like it's a comedy show. It's about a group of like software engineers, software developers living in, you guess it, Silicon Valley, which is like the mecca of all like startups and stuff like that for software. But like in the same vein as of The League, where it's like The League does a very good comedy show and it's centered around fantasy football, but you don't have to like know about fantasy football in order to find the show entertaining. It's the same thing with Silicon Valley. Like it's very much centered around programming and software development and stuff like that, but you don't have to really know about these things in order to enjoy the show. So pretty much like the overarching plot of the show is there's a couple software devs in Silicon Valley, and they make a startup for a compression-based software where, just like make big images smaller. And they pretty much, over the course of the show, turning it into like a multi-million-dollar company. And it's just like, it kind of like, it's also like a nice way to like view into some like difference of issues that people deal with software development, like, and just kind of how like people describe things in simplicity. Like, you couldn't just have Mr. Roboto and be happy with it.
Well, no, Jason, we can't.
One of the best jokes at the end of like the first season is where they like kind of like come to like realize how to make their compression software, and they call it like middle out. And the way they like kind of like come to this realization is like they're at like kind of like a competition for software, and they're like trying to figure out like, oh man, maybe if we just start jerking off all the judges, we'll have a better chance of winning. It's just like, well, what's the most efficient and like effective way to like jerk off that many people like all at once? It's just like, maybe like if you have two dicks and you like stand them next to each other and you start in the middle and you kind of go outwards. And they're like, they start messing with it.
If
like
you dock them and then go back and
yeah,
forth.
exactly like that. And it's just like, well, like, does like height make a difference? And he's just like, you just see them like kind of miming it out. It's like, yeah, like, what about girth? Yeah, I guess girth does make a difference. And it's kind of shit like that, where it's just like, they have this medium that they are making the comedy around. You might not know shit about the medium, but like a lot of the jokes they go for is still very entertaining.
Right.
So like over the course of like, this is their third season? Yes, this is their third season. So over the course of the first season, it's just them kind of starting out, like figuring out what their company does and just trying to get their name out there. Over the course of their second season, they're trying to build themselves up as a corporation, trying to like really define like the rights of their software and stuff like that, where like they have a bunch of different things. Like they have people who are like funding them. Like this one guy like funds them $1 million for exchange on the board seat, and he's just like this big giant like bro douchebag sort of character. Like at one point, like he drives up, like at one point like his car like gets destroyed or something, and it's this really nice Lamborghini kind of car.
Uh-huh.
I think he gets repossessed in like the series because like he falls under what he calls the Triple Comma Club, where he is he breaks $1 billion. If you like break $1 billion in like value, you're part of the Triple Comma Club. So he goes under that value, so he sells his car. And then once he gets back to it, he buys another car. He's like, oh, come on outside. I got something to show you. And it's like the really nice Lamborghini car. He's like, oh man. And like the head of the company's like, oh man, I don't know if I can accept this. He's like, whoa. You don't think this is for you, right? This is for me to celebrate me getting back into the Triple Comma Club. So the second season is more about them building the company. And now in this third season is them actually trying to like bring it out to market. Where it's like, there is a lot of like very software specific jokes that like I honestly just find hilarious. But like, again, it's all presented in a way where you also can like laugh along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so like I could understand it and not just kind of awkwardly laugh along with, you're coding, right?
Yeah. Like
HTML.
Yeah. Like, in the new season, like pretty much they get a new CEO of their company, and like they're like pitching ideas of how to sell their software, and like pretty much like the guy who made the software is like, oh yeah, like as a joke, kind of like as a bad idea, he's like, you might as well just like take the software, take like the compression algorithm, throw it in a box and throw it into the back of a warehouse somewhere. And he's just like, that's actually a good idea. He's just like, are you fucking serious? It's just like shit like that, where it's just like, it's very easy to like describe it as kind of the same vein of The League if you've ever watched that show, where it's presented in this medium where, yeah, if you know more about the medium, you appreciate the jokes for a little bit more for what they are. But you don't have to know the medium. You can still find some of the jokes funny. Like some of the characters like have very specific like mannerisms that are really enjoyable to watch. Like one of them, Erlich Bachman. He's the head of the like incubator they start out in, where he's just like, he's pretty much a guy who just rents out his house for like software companies to do work in. Like he's very much like, he's one of those characters who thinks he's a lot fancier than he is.
He's one of those guys.
Like, he's like, he wears a kimono around all the time and he smokes a bunch of weed. And he's just like, sir, you offend me. Or like at one point, like he's like yelling at a bunch of people in the house. He's like, who the hell used all the small spoons? Like, I can't fit this big spoon into my yogurt. It's one of those yogurts where it's like, you pour the honey into it. It's just like, look at this. this is madness. He's like, why don't you just like, you're supposed to like pour the like honey into the yogurt. He's like, what? And leave all that extra yogurt in there? Sir, you offend me. Like, you have all these like very like unique and fun characters to watch, and it's just like it's a really funny show. I like it a whole lot. I can see. I can see where people are like, oh, I don't get it. Like, it's not really funny to me, but it's definitely worth watching at least the first season.
Is it on Netflix or on?
It's on HBO, so HBO Go. I buy it through Google Play. You could probably buy it through iTunes, Amazon
Prime.
Yeah, shit like that. They're in there. They just started their third season, like right as Game of Thrones airs right after Game of Thrones.
Whoa, Game of Thrones. Oh.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. No, Jason
I
is
swear to God.
threatening us with
Spoil a
death.
single thing of season 6.
He's threatening us with death.
Ganondorf is actually Hodor.
It turned out Snape was actually the king of the dragons, and that he came from the future to kill President Lincoln.
Excellent.
From the Sith Lord planet.
And Darth Vader is Jon Snow's mom. Oh, and Captain America. He doesn't like Daenerys Targaryen very much.
Okay.
Because
And Hydra is part of is with the.
Peter, I am like 5 seconds away from fucking you in the skull, so.
1, 2, 3,
3,
4,
4.
5. Hold him down. So comics.
Yeah. So apparently I'm the only one who reads comics around here.
What a loser!
Too busy.
Yeah, so I'm reading Rat Queens. You ever heard of Rat Queens?
I've heard of rats and I've heard of
Drag
queens.
Is it the same thing?
Yes, it's exactly the same thing. No. So it's another one of those, it's medieval fantasy, but then they also have like comedic elements to it. It's like, imagine a bunch of, like really smart-assy Dungeons and Dragons players made a campaign, and like that would be this.
I can see it.
So it's like,
I can dig it.
the main characters are these 4 women who, like, they made their own guild and they call it the Rat Queens. And so each of the comics arcs focuses on, each of their quests, and it's mostly full of like a lot of really juvenile humor, but it's also got some really good character stuff. Yeah, I brought up the characters just because I was having trouble placing names to faces, but one thing that I found really interesting is that it has gone through now 3 artists.
Why is that?
Like, not just because they were doing guest art stuff. The original artist for the series, Rock Upchurch, he actually got arrested on domestic violence charges.
That would do it.
Yeah. So then, Stefan Shajic, who is the artist behind Sunstone and Death Vigil and a couple of other things, he took over, but then he had injured his shoulder or his hand or something, so he had to back off of that while he recovered.
Pussy.
Yeah, right? And
Broken a hand, whatever.
so now Tess Fuller
Fucker.
is the current artist.
Until bad things happen.
Yeah, until, they get run over by a car or something.
Or they break their hand while beating their...
Why?
Yeah.
That was my wife beating hand. No!
This is how curses start.
Yeah, like one more, artist gone, and I'm gonna start calling it cursed.
I'm surprised they haven't called it cursed already.
Right. The only thing is with the art, with the first 2, it was more distinctive in terms of like styles and expressions and everything. Tess Fuller's art it's good, but it's just kind of like serviceable. It's like there's not anything, wrong with it, it just
does what
doesn't
it
have
should.
like its own, personality. Like Stepan Chage is probably my favorite of the three, just because he's really good at very realistic expressions. Even in fantasy settings and stuff, like he knows how to draw bodies so that they're proportional, but they also have good, they can express and emote.
Right.
But the humor of it is very, like in the first arc, the town that they're in is under siege by, this clan of orcs, and all the guilds are like working together to stop them. But they're after the Rat Queens because they had apparently killed the boyfriend of like the lead orc. And so
You killed my man! I'm
Yeah.
gonna kill you, bitch!
yeah, so
honey.
she was like, they killed my boyfriend, and then the Rat Queens go, we've killed a lot of boyfriends, how do you know?
How do you know it was your boyfriend
Right.
in particular?
And then she was like, he told us, and there's like a guard on the tower, and then one of them just looks at her and goes, way to go, Terry.
What? That was touching.
So yeah, it's very much like, just goofy, fun humor, but then they also have, their characters, they go into like different backstories and stuff like that. What I like about the personalities of them, like they have this dwarf character in their group, Betty, and like her thing is that she always gorges herself on drugs and candy at the same time.
Dude, same. I can relate.
There's a bit where she and one of the others, like, they get split up, and they're in this cave with this like terrifying dragon. And at first you're thinking like, oh no, but then the dragon, is talking to them, and he's just like, I don't have a problem with you. I just kind of want you to leave.
I just don't want you in my house.
It's just like, please get out
Yeah.
before I call the cops.
Because it's like, you expect, dragon is guarding treasure.
Yeah.
And then, they see his pile of like, there's all this gold and swords and stuff. And he's like, that's my garbage pile. And then he points at like this giant pile of candy. He says, that's my treasure.
Murder him!
Well, no, he just like gives it away freely.
All right.
He has this garbage
Yeah.
now.
Like Betty is just like filling her pockets like up with candy and stuff. And she was like, never forsake me, candy god. And then the other one that she's with, Violet, who's like, she's female, but like her race, they can all grow beards. So she like grows hers back out.
She's a bearded lady.
Yeah, she's a bearded lady basically. And she sees a sword on the pile and she goes, I want that thing. I want it, please. Like, it's junk to you. And he goes, I have to take it. I don't care.
Fuck it.
Fuck it.
You want my garbage? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Have my garbage.
The only thing is
Ew,
that with
you're touching it.
ew, you're touching my garbage. They have the thing is that because it plays with a lot of tropes, there is like a lot of familiar stuff, and like the stuff they subvert, that's good, but then the stuff they like stick to, it's like, oh, I kind of knew how that was gonna play out.
Where could you buy it?
I mean, at most comic shop, it's just a series run by Image. So
Comic shops.
yeah, man.
What are those?
Do they sell? Is it some form of drugstore?
Comics are their own drugs, man.
So yes.
Yes. Like in volume 3, they have it where they start off talking about like, oh, we're such a great group of friends, and then it's like, you are going to be split up somehow.
No.
Yeah.
Sounds like the usual.
Something is going to happen. There's going to be some rift with somebody.
That sounds like a typical, like if any team based.
Right. It
is
doesn't
gonna
quite
get
escape,
separated somehow.
the team stuff, but when it's playing with doing Dungeons and Dragons stuff in like a comedic way, that's where it's working really well. Like they have 2 sorceresses in their group, and one of them uses this magical stone to like communicate with her parents, and she's using it like a cell phone. That's what the joke is.
Oh, hi guys, how are you?
Right.
Mom.
Yeah. And then they have the one character, Hannah, who like she is from a family of like necromancers, and she's like the Raven of the group, basically, in terms of her backstory and everything.
Okay.
Like the Raven from Teen Titans or the Blake from Ruby.
Yeah.
Like she's that character.
Okay.
She's just a lot more loud and sweary than they are. They do have this one bit, like, there's something I love about the writing where it's, like, if you've ever heard Patton Oswalt set,
Okay.
it's very much like that.
Okay.
Where they flashback to, like, Hannah, she's being accused of a crime, and in the flashback that they're showing, it's, like, her summoning demons to, like, murder people, and she shouts out, "I am the conduit of all evil! Bow to me, you fucking boobs!" Like, it's that kind of dialogue, which I love, contrasting with, the proper fantasy setting.
I mean, that was one thing I do like about those. I mean, it portrays, like, not DC and Marvel, but I feel like, even though, yes, the way they talked would be more relevant to how you talk.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how they would actually have talked
they don't like
communicate to each
They
other.
don't try to make it so super fancy. Like,
Yeah.
they speak casually when they need to and not when they don't.
Like, I can see Superman easily if he gets punched in the face hard. Fucking A, man! God damn! Like, I like when writers say this is going to be more of an earthy, like, how they would actually...
down to earth dialogue.
Yeah.
Yes.
more relatable.
Yes. Go ahead. If you were continuing.
I don't know, just acknowledging stuff with like the characters they frequently have, like, well, not frequently, but they are involved in like sexual relationships.
Ooh.
Yeah, they have tons of hot guys in there for you.
Ooh.
But it's like they use stuff like sexuality and cursing and stuff like in proper context when it's, necessary.
Always necessary. Sexuality is always...
Always down to fuck.
Like in the first volume, there's Betty the dwarf, like her and this chick that she's hooking up with, like it shows her as much more of a promiscuous character, because like it's not serious, but it's also like, they can get mad at each other.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just really good character work and really good comedy stuff. Like the second volume starts with like the morning after. Basically, it ended with like everyone was like, "Yeah, we're all getting laid."
Yeah.
And so it's like the morning after, everyone just gathers around and there's pancakes and stuff. And then somehow the guard from the tower is who like blabbed to the orc is there.
Yeah.
And like he just says something and they go, "Shut the fuck up! Go home!" Yeah. Yeah, I forget the guy's name, but it was, stuff like that. Just, it's totally my kind of humor. If you don't like that kind of humor, it's not your thing, but you're probably not very funny.
Burn
Peter.
Burn to all of America.
Yeah, Peter.
Alright. Video games!
Yay!
Yay!
I have 3 again. I win.
Alright, so...
Just because I'm not including Undertale because I'm still playing through it.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, so Shadow of the Colossus is one of my favorite video games ever. I bought the HD collection where it was Shadow of the Colossus and Ico, because the first game that Team Ico made was Ico, and then they made Shadow of the Colossus, which was actually the prequel to Ico. And now they've got The Last Guardian, which is supposed to come out next year, finally, after it's been in development since 2007. It's like a running joke at E3 whenever they show a Last Guardian trailer.
Yeah.
But as much as I've loved these, I hope that I like The Last Guardian more, because I will totally be getting that, also a PS4, so that I have a system that it works on.
Yay,
But, so Ico is what I've been playing. So you play as I think his name is Aiko too, so that's the name of the studio, the game, and also the main character. So you play as this little boy with horns who is like exiled from his village, and they're just gonna, store him away in this tower and just be like, all right, now we don't have to think about that.
Perfect.
Our plan was perfect. So then something goes wrong with your containment and you break out, and then you see there's this girl there who's in a cage, and you're like, well, I'm not going to be horrible, so I'm going to help get her out. And so then both of you are escaping the tower, essentially.
You're not going to be a complete demon with my...
Right. But the thing is, like, you're only playing as Aiko.
Okay, so there's no switch space.
Right. The girl Yorda, she essentially is an AI partner that you can, command and stuff.
I wonder what name they took from that.
Yorda.
Yeah. But so her thing is that the barriers that you come across, she can, like, destroy them with, like, her powers. It's like you bring her to the barrier, she does her thing, and the barrier breaks down. And then you can both continue. But whereas you are a very nimble and very, running around and doing stuff child, she has probably been up here for much longer than you because she's very pale and she can't move very well, very quickly. She can't defend herself, which is not doing anything to progress rights or anything, but that's the game we have. So the way you two move around and solve the puzzles that help you get through the area is you have the characters holding hands when they move around. Like, so you lead her around. It's really nice.
Really touching.
It really is, but, like, what helps make it much more effective is that you will hold down the button for when you make your characters hold hands. So, like, you don't just press a button and they're holding hands. It's like you have to hold down the button.
See what you did there?
Yeah.
You're holding a button to hold hands. So you're actually holding her button hand.
That's kind of...
Kind of running out of steam there, aren't you, Eric?
Dude, I got it. You hold the buttons.
The only thing is that her being an AI controlled character is that she doesn't always do what you need her to.
Oh, mechanics.
Yeah.
Right, so, like, if you leave her somewhere and you're like, I need you to stay here, but then, like, you move and, like, you need to climb around, like, she'll, do her best to, like, follow you, but then she, like, leaves where you left her, and you're like, no, I needed you there!
Don't you love those AI mechanics?
Well, AI from what, like, 15, like, over 10 years ago at this point.
Aiko came out in the early 2000s. Yeah, it was, like, 2001.
Yeah, so it's gotta be, like, 15 years ago.
Yeah. But, I mean, the whole... hold the hand thing to, like, maneuver around the stuff and solve the puzzles and everything. It's really effective when you have because there are these shadow creatures that live in the temple, and what they're trying to do is they are trying to steal her and keep her there. Because there's the shadow lady who needs her there for reasons that I don't remember if they were said. She just has made one appearance to me so far. So, like, these monsters appear and they try to take her and, like, drag her into their, like, pit of shadows where their spawning point is. So then you have this stick and, you fight them off with it. So it's
beat you with my stick.
It is very basic, very primal of, like, don't take my woman, I have stick.
Me man, she woman, me you stick. Cry. Cross shadow man.
Like, the first time that happened, where they're, like, stealing her and they're, like, trying to pull her under, and you, like, go over to her, like, you fight off the monsters and you pull her out so that you can, save her. Like, I found myself being like, no! And then, like, afterwards I was like, where did that come from? Yeah. It's like, how did this game tap into that part of my brain?
The primal instincts.
Yeah.
Jason want woman. Jason need woman.
Jason protect.
You just see Jason walk out of his door
Yeah.
with a stick.
Jason's mom come down. Jason, can I get you with a... Jason, save woman. Like, okay, I'll come back
Yeah.
later.
But like in terms of that combat, it's one button combat essentially.
Yeah.
Where it's like you hit with stick or you can jump and hit with stick.
Hit stick. Hit without
Yeah.
stick. Jump stick.
Yeah, so in terms of that, the combat and the shadow spawning stuff, it's very repetitive. Like I much prefer, the combat from Shadow of the Colossus to this instead of having
Yeah.
your big monsters to defeat, a few of them, and instead of having, a bunch of tiny ones that all are destroyed the same way.
From my understanding, Ico is much more of a puzzle game, right?
It is much more of a puzzle game, but it's like, then it's just more of an annoyance.
Puzzles are annoying.
No, the combat is an annoyance to the
Okay.
puzzles.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Puzzles.
It's just like, padding almost.
Yeah. Something to do between puzzles.
I mean, and the puzzles, they do provide a good challenge because this, like Shadow of the Colossus, is very minimalist storytelling.
Yeah.
Like, even more so, probably. Just because, you have your very basic scenario, and then you just have the puzzles laid out before you. It shows you where you want to get, and it shows you what's between there, and then it's like, all right, now figure it out. And so, with stuff like that, it's mostly leave Yorda there while you're solving the puzzle, and then come back and get her.
How are the puzzle mechanics in the game?
They're pretty good. It's mostly find your way to climb up here and hit this switch to activate this bridge.
It's like a platforming, kind of like push
Right.
block sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of push block puzzles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then for more challenge, it will have you, like get halfway there, then have the shadow creatures appear, and then you have to go back and protect Yorda.
Yeah.
Which, that's where it becomes more of an annoyance.
Yeah.
than,
Because it's like, I'm solving the puzzle. I'm
Right.
doing it, Ma.
I'm doing what you said!
Or sometimes
the
it's just like the
things.
puzzle's not that hard, but you gotta like, it's like, oh look, this puzzle's pretty easy. Look, shadow creatures, go fight them.
Right, 'cause, like,
okay.
This one recently that took me a while to figure out, because you have to get a pretty good distance away from Yorda to, solve it, and then you, like, round your way back around.
Yeah.
And then if you're away from her too long or you're too far apart, like, the shadow creatures will automatically, start attacking her.
Mm.
Like, if you leave her alone for too long, because, like, she's unguarded.
Right.
But there are stuff I like with along with the hand-holding mechanic, there are parts where there will be a gap, like between two cliff sides and stuff. Like, you can jump across it, no problem, but she, being locked in a cage most of her life,
Yeah.
doesn't have, like, the strength to get that far across.
What a bitch.
Right. But so then what you do is you take Aiko to the edge of the cliff she needs to reach, and he, like, reaches out his hand, so, like, when she jumps, he catches her and helps her up.
Mhm.
Or, like, with the block puzzles, like, your guy, again, he can jump, and he can, like, get up to the top of the cliff, but she can't jump so high, so what he does is he gets to the edge, and he leans down, she jumps, and he catches her and helps her up.
Mhm.
And so there's a really good, like, helping each other thing with it, and yeah, the whole having them hold hands and stuff, I don't know, that's a really good way to, like, create a bond between your characters.
It's a great way to like show that they're they're deepening a relationship without actually having to say anything.
Yeah, and, like, you can call her, but from what I can tell, they don't speak the same
You
language.
could call her. You got a cell phone in this game.
Like, if you need her to be over here for a puzzle, you, like, call and he shouts some gibberish word, and she comes over.
This is the first voice line in the game. Here's my number. Call me, baby.
Damn it. The only thing is, like, with the minimalist stuff, with storytelling, it also does that for the gameplay, which, is pretty basic, but then when you have something that the game didn't tell you about,
Oh,
because I was stuck on this one puzzle for like almost 2 hours trying to figure out what else can I do. There's this bit where like there's a rope that extends down into the room between this gap that you can't jump. So I'm like, okay, so I jump from the rope to the other side, and then I help her up. But the problem is my jump wasn't far enough ever to get to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally broke down and watched a walkthrough where it's like you start swinging on the rope.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd only seen the swinging mechanic maybe once before that, and I did not remember it.
Yeah, it didn't tell you could do it. It was
Right,
just
like I knew I could do that from like, this little chain that was hanging there, but I didn't know like this like really long, thicker rope.
Mhm.
Like I didn't know that was like, okay, I can move this.
Mm.
It was like in Shadow of the Colossus, you defeat one of them by having it chase you, the one that burrows underground. You're riding your horse, you ride it into the wall, but you have to shoot it in the eye from horseback.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that was how that worked.
Just like, oh god, and when you like do it, you're like, oh
Yeah.
man. Oop. I unplugged the computer.
That's okay. It's at full.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ico is still... It's really, really good. I do prefer Shadow of the Colossus, but I am definitely going to finish it because I want to see what happened with the story between Shadow of the Colossus and Ico.
Yeah. Which it's just the two games. There's not like a third one or anything like
I don't
that.
know if The Last Guardian is going to tie into it. I hope
Yeah.
it does.
When that comes out sometime.
Next year.
Yeah.
It's finally got a release date from what I understand. So.
Like a full release date or just next year?
No, full release date.
Just
Like
because-
they've got a date on it.
Just because the game has a release date does not mean they can.
I know. Duke
No Man-
Nukem was going to come out for 13 years and it didn't.
Or No Man's Sky is supposed to just got delayed to August. And it was supposed to get released like
Persona 5's been
next
delayed
month.
like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Uh,
Release date 2016.
I swear they had more detail. I
I
don't know
mean,
if something happened.
Legend of Zelda Wii U. I don't know how many years that was supposed to be released.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Overwatch?
Overwatch.
Overwatch. Me and Pete play this game, but not together because Pete plays it on console and I play it on PC.
Yeah, at
Oh,
the
yeah,
moment.
so it's just
At
supposed
the
to be
moment?
like late
Are you looking to
2016
get a
for Last
PC?
Guardian.
No, I'm looking to get a charger for my laptop. Once
Ah.
my Steam, once that's up, I can go back onto Steam, get it on my Steam.
It's
Some-
not on Steam.
Let me just say one thing about Overwatch that I know I only know about it because not because I know what the game's supposed to be like.
Yes.
I am a frequenter of the Rule 34 Reddit, and every other thing is from Overwatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's actually an article on Kotaku I saw a couple days ago where it's just like Overwatch hentai has just been
Yeah.
like skyrocketing in like Pornhub searches and stuff like that.
Like, there is nothing else.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll first give like a brief overview of the game. Are you familiar with TF2?
Team Fortress 2.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's another one in that same vein. It's like it's an arena-based shooter, or it's an objective-based arena shooter. So like pretty much like they're like some of the game modes you play are like, oh, push the cart, team the King of the Hill. It's not really like there's no team
Damn it, Bobby!
Yeah. There's no team deathmatch at all. But the things that like diverge it from Team Fortress 2, because it's a very big like criticism I've heard from Overwatch, is just like people are like, oh, this is just Team Fortress 2 but reskinned and
With
shit.
more anime.
Yeah, the way it diverges is it's a hero-based system instead of like a class-based system. So instead of saying I'm a pyro, I'm a sniper,
You're
an
a
engineer.
specific character.
Yeah, it's like offense, defense, tank, or support. So it's just like you can be like on offense, you can be this guy named McCree who's basically a cowboy with a 6-shooter and a flashbang. Or you could be Genji, who's a ninja who throws shurikens and ults to like do a sword thing. So
Let
like
the dragon consume you.
yeah, pretty much. Like each hero also has like a different subset of abilities. It's not just like, offense characters shoot the things, and defense characters protect the things, and tank things, soak up damage of the things, and support heal that health that got people damaged from things.
Or revive people from damaged things.
Yeah. Like, each hero has, like, a very unique play style to it. So, like, yeah, McCree, you have, like, your 6-shooter, and you can also throw flashbangs to stun people, and you can, like, dodge roll pretty much. Genji, you throw, like, shurikens, and you can, like, deflect bullets, and you can dash, like, to places, because, like, you're a very close range, like, hero. So it offers, like...
And if you're D.Va, you can apparently have sex with everybody.
Oh, from Rule 34.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yes, D.Va, Widowmaker, and Tracer.
Yes.
It's probably the things you've seen the most on the Overwatch hentai porn stuff.
Yeah. And the deeper holes of Overwatch.
Yeah.
So fucking deep.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty much just like a team objective-based game.
And obviously, there's a huge story that's going on.
Yeah.
That, for some reason, we have people that really want to know the story have to go on YouTube or go on Battle.net.
So
to actually
the way they're
story.
distributing the story, it's like, so it's a lot of like MOBA based stuff. Like, League of Legends does the same thing. The way Blizzard is doing it, of course, like, they know, hey, this is a first person like team game. Like, the story can just fuck off for like 90% of our like user base. Like, they won't give a shit anyway.
Yeah, but they're realizing is half the people are like, where's the story?
Well, because they started doing this, which is kind of unique. So they tell the story in a couple different formats. They have a couple animated shorts, which tell like some story from like different character perspectives. They have a couple comic series running where they do the same
really?
thing. Yeah. They have a couple comic book series where they explore different characters and stuff like that. And the other main way that I think they distribute the story is through like character descriptions.
Yes.
So when you load up a character and you look at like you can look at like a description of like that character and the character's background. It might be like, oh, this person was here during like this event, and you can like piecemeal it together to kind of like find out what the events are.
All I know right now in the story is that the Overwatch, there used to be an Overwatch.
Yeah.
And then some people started like saying they're criminals, saying
so. Yeah, like Overwatch was like a team, and like so it's like the kind of like future fantasy realm where it's like there's like people, and then there's robot people.
And then there's a 1-8 person.
Yeah, and like these robot people like were discriminated against because there's like an event where like a couple of them went crazy and started killing a bunch of other people. And Overwatch is like this team that stepped in, and it's like a peacekeeping vigilante team, sort of.
And then there were the robots. There are a group of robots that wanted peace with everybody.
Yeah.
Would you get? Well, what was his name?
Zenyatta.
Zenyatta. Yeah, Zenyatta.
He's like a monk sort of guy. But like, so pretty much it's like, yeah, something happened where like, the Overwatch team, like they got framed for something and they had to disband, and now it's past that point and like more bad things are happening. So like they reformed the Overwatch team to like do things like push the cart and capture objectives and spray kawaii tags all over.
They're talking about an Overwatch movie because of the story, because they want to bring out the story to the fans. They want to make a movie for it.
I think a lot of it is because of the shorts, and the shorts, it's Blizzard, so they have the funds and they have...
Wait, this is Blizzard who's making this?
Yeah, Blizzard's...
They have the funds.
So then, after the Warcraft movie, we'll have this.
Yeah.
No, I feel like, personally, they should do more of an animated show for Overwatch.
Because it's anime?
No, because
the shorts are animated.
Well, the shorts are animated, and it's just...
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I meant, but I thought they might also probably do, like, the computer graphic versions as opposed to, like, 2D.
Right.
Yeah.
Who do you take, usually, as attack or defense?
So, as for, like, the characters I typically choose, one, Mei, because Mei is Bae. So,
Lord, you're one of those guys.
I will also start describing a lot of like the characters for Jason's sake and for listeners' sake. Mei is a defense hero who, what?
How do you spell?
MEI. So Mei is a defensive hero whose main weapon is a super soaker full of freeze juice. So pretty much her role is just to run around and freeze people and then like icicle shoot them in the head. So like her different abilities is like,
don't move.
yeah, please don't move. Her different abilities is she can pretty much go into stasis where she's just like, which is hilarious because you could jump on like either the King of the Hill point or like the cart and just kind of keep it like contest it without doing anything and also healing. Or she can put up like pretty much like a wall to block damage and like different like heroes. And then her ultimate is to like throw like Mei is Bae. Mei is definitely Bae. And then her ultimate is to throw like a robot that like has an area of effect that freezes everybody. But
that's just not Mei, but that's what she called.
Yeah. But a lot of people like find her very irritating because she just runs around you in circles and freezes you and just kills you like one shot. That image is the best. Throw that image up, Jason.
You do know that's on my wall, right?
Oh man, I am throwing that the fuck up.
Tracer here, as you see. Tracer's ability, she can...
Which one is Tracer? Is she the butt or the face?
She's the one ogling the butt.
Okay.
Yeah. She can warp
it's
time.
her precious.
So you said that's Mei. Who else?
So the other ones I play a lot of defense heroes because defense usually has a lot of
Same.
silly things. I play Junkrat a lot.
That's my guy.
Because like at the end of the last beta, I've realized how fun Junkrat is. He's a dude, so please don't look up Rule 34.
Equality.
So what Junkrat is, he's like a grenade, like he uses a lot of grenades and explosive sort of things. So pretty much you just stand on the back line and you shoot grenades into the enemy team.
Oh, that's how you play them? I play them all differently.
Well, okay, and the other thing I like to do that I just dick around with Junkrat like to do is you can lay down traps for people. And like you lay down like two, like one is more like mobility you can use it for, but I also use it for an offense. Like you can lay down like a steel trap, which is like it's pretty much just a bear trap,
right?
And you like it locks them in place. And then the other one is to use it for the other one's like a remote mine sort of thing. So what I usually like to do, which is my total cheese strat to like to kill someone at the beginning of the game, is I lay down the bear trap and then the mine at the like right where people spawn, so they run into it, and then you just like detonate it, and it's usually a one-shot kill.
I couldn't find anything for Junkrat.
Yeah,
for example, I was playing a game the other day. The guy was Hanzo, of course, because everyone loves playing Hanzo.
Yeah.
Hanzo
is like a sniper from TF2 with the bow.
Yeah. He did not check his behind him. He did not check. I crept up. I kept on creeping up, making sure to see if he was going to check his rear. Never checked his rear. I'm like, all right, throw a bomb on him, blow him up. That's like you could cheat out a lot of people with Junkrat. I mean, because you could just throw a bomb and the bombs bounce off the wall.
Yeah.
Which like if you're here, you're not expecting the bombs, and then there's what's his name? The dwarf.
Torborn.
He's kind of like he makes turrets.
He's the engineer version of TF2, but in Overwatch.
And
so he can create turrets. He lays down armor, and like pretty much his ultimate is he goes ham, and he like can buff his turrets like ridiculous to do like a ridiculous amount of damage.
Or it can be Bastion, which everyone hates.
Yeah. Or Bastion, who is pretty much like
a walking robotic turret.
Yeah. Well, like.
Is it because he's like overpowered?
He can turn into like a turret, like a Gatling turret.
Okay.
And he can pretty much shred anybody who walks in front of him. He's pretty much a pub stomp. So like he pretty much is like he wrecks noobs because people just like they just run into the middle of nowhere and then they get bashed and like, man, that guy's really good. I wonder if I walk in like at a different angle.
See, that's the difference. Even though like noobs are like, oh well, I just like, oh, I know, I see you right there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run at you. I don't care if I'm running at you. I'm throwing my grenades at you until you die.
And pretty much just like the other reason he's hated so much, of course, like at the end of each game, there's the play of the game that like.
Jeez. And they Bastion, Turborn, and the other, I forget the other one. They're like the play of the game character hoggers.
I actually don't see that many Torborns. I see Bastion a couple times, Hanzo, and like. Yeah, I see a couple. I can see a good mix. Like Soldier 76 usually sometimes is in there. And that's another bullshit character I'll get into in a second. But the reason Bastion is also kind of like bitchy, like at the end of every game, there's the play of the game. Like the person who either made the play that turned around to force one team to either win or lose, or who just like pretty much, it usually ends up like whoever killed the most people in the shortest amount of time. And the reason Bastion's like play of the games are so fucking stupid is
it's always the same.
It's intense left click holding because it's just like you see them sitting there in turret mode and they hold left click and they go shh, and it's just like, oh, neat, you killed their team. But yeah, the other like kind of bullshit character is Soldier 76, who's like the super starter like character. We call him the COD character because his abilities is sprint, shoot rockets,
and I think it's almost a lock mechanism on it.
Yeah, well, no, that's his ult. And then heal yourself. You place down like a thing that does healing in an area, and then like his ult is aimbot. So pretty much you ult, and then it's just like, everybody in this area, I don't know, I'm just going to hold this button, and it'll be like, bink, 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 and I kill everyone.
And Widowmaker annoys me.
But yeah.
Crap out of me.
As far as like, so those are the characters. As far as like why you should buy and why you should play this game, it's a very fun team-based game. Like,
it is.
As far as like, it's a team-based game, so of course solo play is going to be kind of cancerous for a bit, just because it's like, like when you get into a game and you like queue up by yourself, like people are like, oh, like why would we push objective to win? This is team deathmatch, right? We just need to go and kill everybody. And it's just like, no, no. So it's like, it's hard to coordinate things. But, like, it's a very fun team-based game. So if you like those kind of arena-based, like, shooters, like TF2, which we haven't really got a lot of those in recent years. And that's why, like, Overwatch, I think, is doing, like, a lot better.
So well.
It's doing so well. Because if you don't know about, like, kind of the state of TF2, is, TF2 came out, it was very good, very well received. And then they decided, hey, let's make these hats. And people are like, okay, well, that's fine. Like, they're cosmetic items. Like, yeah.
It was
that
all
is
because of the hats?
No. It gets worse. It's like, okay, like, yeah, they're just cosmetic items. What if we give them stats?
Oh, my God.
Like, what if we make, like, if you have this hat and this gun, you get, like, plus 20% extra damage. And people are like, okay. And then they just kind of, like, start going off that. So it just becomes a game of, well, who
can buy the best hat?
Who can buy the best hat, or who's played the game like so much that they just have everything anyway?
And I think also,
so it just became like super ridiculously unbalanced, and like people just were like, "This is not fun anymore."
Since we're still in that game mode or that style, Battleborn would be the next closest thing.
Yeah,
very close to Overwatch.
It's more. I think Battleborn, from what I've heard, is more of like a MOBA,
more like League of Legends.
League of Legends,
but first person.
Yeah, like you have your two sides of the map, and you're like trying to push fully onto the other side. Whereas like Overwatch is much more of like an open area. You don't have like lanes. You have to like, you're not designated to lanes as much.
Right.
You
just
can
go anywhere you want.
You can go anywhere you want. You can like, you have more of an open space.
And people that's in, and there's a lot in the culture of Overwatch and Battleborn. There's, Battleborn's better. What's the difference between them? And there are a lot of differences. One, You know how in League of Legends you have to kill the minions to gain experience?
I have no experience with any of those games.
Yeah.
Well,
You don't need any.
Yeah.
You're better off.
just play your,
No,
play your
honesty.
Dragon Age and forget to level up your character.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think like you said, right now those games are doing well because they're not doing those
Yeah.
stupid hack things or stats
Stupid
about
gimmicks.
like with other gimmicky things. They're just being what that they should be played in.
Yeah. And in all honesty, the best way to say it is they're fun. They're quick, mindless fun, and that's another side to that equation is that the games are also very quick. Like, you have these competitive games like League of Legends, which is like that's a commitment of at least 20 minutes.
Compared to Overwatch is like 10,
5 minutes.
almost 5.
Yeah,
5
at the
minutes.
very longest 10 minutes. That's like if you like totally start to just stomp on them and they just like you just cannot complete the game to like save your life. At the very longest 10 minutes.
Yeah.
League is like easy 20, like on average 30, 40 minutes. Yeah. Overwatch. It's a lot of fun. Go buy it and let me stomp you today.
Dark Souls 3.
Dark Souls 3? That's me.
Again.
Yeah. Strap in, boys. Or strap on. So Dark Souls 3, the final, from what I've heard, is the final installment of the Dark Souls franchise. This is the last game they're going to do. Of course, they're going to do DLC with this game.
They're going to do Bloodborne too?
I don't know. Probably. I don't know what he's doing. I just know this is the last Dark Souls one, which if they go to Bloodborne, I know a lot of people didn't like that game for the style.
Really?
There's a couple people that didn't like the game because of the style. Like, they're very much more into the medieval sort of style.
I mean, both are fine. I mean, I personally thought, Bloodborne had a more, uniform.
I mean, I like Bloodborne. Like, don't get me wrong. I love Bloodborne. I've heard from other people that they didn't like kind of they like more of the medieval and the knight kind of style, and Bloodborne.
It's still medieval. It was just more gothic.
And it's also like the difference in like kind of gameplay. Like in Bloodborne, it's more about aggressiveness, where Dark Souls is a lot more about passive and like passiveness. Like you can play aggressively in Dark Souls, but like there's a lot more focus on like kind of like getting to know your enemy and like kind of hanging back for a bit and maybe like kind of gauging when you go in, where Bloodborne has more of an aspect of like go, kill sort of thing. But I don't know what they're like Dark Souls has more of an aspect of like kind of like more learning like your enemy's patterns, like being more like kind of calculative in a sense. And just like kind of some of like the styles they go for is a little bit different. So as far as like what their future is, I have no idea. I've heard maybe Bloodborne 2 ? But who knows? Maybe they'll go for something totally different. I mean, they have the name now to like go after pretty much whatever they want. So Dark Souls 3 is the last installment of the Dark Souls franchise. There will not be a Dark Souls 4. And that's the main takeaway from that. Pretty much as far as like lowest subplot I can get, because like Overwatch that we just talked about, Dark Souls 3 is very much a game, or Ico that we just talked about. Like Dark Souls 3 is very much a game where the plot can take a backseat. Like I talked to many people.
They have that contest going where if you can put together the plot of the games, they will pay you money.
Yeah. And just like it's a very common thread. Like it's not even people I talk to. I know a lot of people who are just like, yeah, the best way to play Dark Souls is don't really worry about the plot. you're not gonna get it, and it's not for a lack of like trying.
Not with that attitude.
Yeah, it's not for a lack of trying. It's just them as developers, like they made a very informed decision to like not focus on the plot. They focused on gameplay, and that's in itself a very smart idea. Because sometimes, games will have very good plots, but their gameplay will be shit. Or sometimes it'll be the reverse. They'll have very good gameplay, but the plots will be shit. It's very nice and refreshing to see a game where it's like, you could kind of just take or leave the plot, and as long as the gameplay is good, which is why we play video games in the first place anyway, is to have a quality gameplay experience, you could kind of just go at it. So, like, as far as, like, plot goes, you pretty much awaken. It's the same plot as Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. Like, the Age of Fire is ending. You awakened, like, but in this case, instead of, like, wandering into Dark Souls, like, into the area, you're more of, like, awakened, which is, like, a different kind of aspect, and you're no longer referred to as an undead, you're referred to as an unkindled. In my case, Countess Donger was an unkindled.
Donger.
Countess Donger. Or Countess Donger.
Donger.
So you're walking through, and you get to your hub world, which is the, I think it's called the Kiln, or like, oh no, it's called like Firelink Shrine. It's not Kiln of the First Flame. I thought it was called Kiln of the First Flame. It's just like Firelink Shrine, pretty much area. And like, pretty much, you're told your objective, like any other Dark Souls. There's 4 guys, go kill them, and then come back and talk to me. There's 4 big bad dudes over there, go beat them up, and then come back to me. And they're called the Lords of Cinder. So pretty much, like, if you are not familiar with kind of the game style of Dark Souls, it's a very punishing game. A lot of people describe it as hard. I like to describe it as punishing, because like hard inherently means like sometimes there's things that will attack you, or some things that will just be generally unfair, like to it.
And yet you could still survive.
Yeah, like punishing I like better, because it's like, yeah, things will kill you. They'll kill you hard. But there's very like, it's more of a degree of how much you're paying attention and how good you are at the game. It's not really like a measure of, oh, these enemies are just hitting like trucks and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, because there's like no difficulty like slider at the beginning of the game. Everybody starts out at the same difficulty. So, like for an example, some enemies will attack very fast, but there will be a point where they'll slow down, and that's when you can jump in and attack them. So like, so the bad idea would be to just like run in and just start swinging your sword and hoping that you're like gonna knock them and just like stun lock them or something. The good idea, bad idea, is to either A, shield like your way through their attack, or B, like kind of like dodge around until they're done attacking and then lay into them. It's a very much different like kind of play style. Like it's very much more focused on like passively like kind of sitting back. Like I was talking to Jason earlier, like today, like early in this cast, is like Bloodborne, if you're familiar with Bloodborne, is very much more about aggressiveness. You're going in, you're trying to attack these guys, like you're trying to kill them before they kill you, because like even if they hit you, as long as you're attacking, you're regaining health anyway. Whereas in like Dark Souls, you're more kind of like trying to figure out, okay, when can I go in? When's a safe time to like attack? What are my options? Where are my openings? As far as like gameplay goes, like between Dark Souls 1 and 2, you don't see a lot change. They actually like changed more between Dark Souls 2 and 3 and went back to like how it was more in Dark Souls 1. The biggest complaint was like Dark Souls 2 is a little bit too easy for some people. The big notable changes in Dark Souls 3 is you have now like what they call focus points, which is pretty much magic meter, because like if you're a mage, you use it to like cast spells. Otherwise, like now like weapons have like weapon arts, where it's like in Bloodborne you had this transforming weapons, like you had basically 2 weapons in one. In Dark Souls 3 you have weapon arts, where it's like you have like certain skills, like one sword you might like increase the damage you do for a period of time. Another sword you might do like a spinny attack sort of thing. You just have like a different like play set with each like individual weapon. Now onto the big important thing that makes like these games really stand out is the boss battles, which if like the regular enemies, you kind of like have to like think about them a little more. Boss battles are on a totally different level. Like the first like Lord of Cinder you face off against is someone called like the Watchdogs of the Abyss. And like pretty much the game, it starts out there's like you actually fight against multiple people. Like one guy like comes up and he comes out swinging really fast and really like hard. So you're like dodging around, you're trying to like get into a good beat, and then like after a while another guy comes up and he's starting to do the same thing. So now it's like, okay, shit, now I gotta micromanage these two enemies, and it's like it's a really intense boss fight. And then like after a while a third guy pops up and you're like, oh shit, not this again. And then it's just like, but like he's also kind of like a little bit of a good guy. Like he'll attack you, but if you hang back, he'll attack the other guy. So it's like, okay, maybe if I hang back and aggro him onto them, then like maybe they'll fight each other and kill each other. Then I can focus on the main guy I gotta like beat. And then like in the second phase, like then switches into a second phase where all his like weapons get like fire damage or like leave a trail of fire, and it's just like, it's like, oh god, like I can't just like dash in anymore and kind of like hang around and like dash under his strikes because they'll leave a trail of fire, and if I'm in that area I'll just like burst into flames anyway. So like one thing that I just love about Dark Souls, like in general, it's like it's one of those few games that like give me like
It pushes you.
Yeah, it pushes you. It gives you like a visceral reaction. Like you actually like feel like your heart pounding. Like I remember like beating these bosses and I feel like my heart pounding out of my chest because I'm just like going into this like holy shit, oh god, oh no, and then I'm like no, and then I throw a controller and I break my wall.
Is that why you had to move?
Yes. But no, I actually did break a controller during Dark Souls 3. I threw a controller at a wall and it did break. I had to switch controllers mid-play session. But like, you know, it's like it's one of those few games that like it feels intense. Like you're thinking really hard about what your next move is. Like sometimes you can kind of go like on autopilot. Even hard games, you're just kind of like boom, boom, boom. Like as long as I don't get hit, it's whatever. Blah blah blah.
Especially after games like this, where you know they actually challenge you, and then you play, you know, hard mode.
Yeah.
Unlike some other game where you're just like, yeah, what the fuck ever.
Yeah, like it's very much intense, and like the game is designed like I think, well. Let me regain my thoughts here. I forget if it was an achievement in this game. I know it was an achievement in the first 2 games, where it's like the first time you die, you actually get an achievement. In the second game, it was called Welcome to Dark Souls. It's like the first time you die, it's called Welcome to Dark Souls. Because like, you have to come into the mindset that you're going to fail a lot. It's very hard to actually like beat the game without dying even once.
Right.
Which, yes, I have beaten the game. I've done it. I am the achiever. The last boss fight was a bitch. Because pretty much like he was like a very fast moving, like kind of heavy hitting damage, kind of like human enemy. Which you would think, like, in a lot of these games, there's, like, the bosses are split into kind of, like, 2 subcategories, you know, like, kind of, like big dragons or big, like, enemy sort of things, like, big monsters or, like, humans. And the humans far outclass the monsters in terms of difficulty. Just because it's, like, they're typically a lot faster and you have to react a lot quicker. But, yeah. If you're looking for a challenging game, like if you're looking for a game that doesn't dick with you like a whole lot, just
Keep going.
just pick up Dark Souls. It's a great buy. One of my personal favorites. If you've never played a Dark Souls game, Dark Souls 1 and 2. 2 a little bit. Dark Souls 1 definitely like a quality buy, and Dark Souls. Dark Souls 2, they did recently re-release that, or they re-released that like last year. There's an edition called Scholar of the First Sin. If you're looking to buy it, buy Scholar of the First Sin. Vanilla Dark Souls 2, they've, I think, officially dropped support for, actually, because it wasn't that great. Actually, Scholar of the First Sin is a repackaged deal where the original director, because he didn't work on Dark Souls 2, he's working on Bloodborne at the time, he came back, tweaked with enemy placements, and then they packaged all the DLC together, and they package in a new DLC for you, and they ship it to you.
Nice.
Overall, just a better deal, and overall better game, Dark Souls 2. Scholar of the First Sin.
All right. Did you get all the Dark Souls out of your system?
No, there's a lot more I could talk about, but I kind of want to go home and play Overwatch.
All right, so we're going to call it an episode there. This has been Legendary Nobodies podcast. We have been here for 5 hours now.
For you guys, dicks.
Maybe hit subscribe.
We're looking at you, Jason's dad.
Yeah, come on. I'm not that much of a failure.
Yeah.
Also, go over to my channel. I'll be starting up soon.
We're trying to get subscribers to our channel first.
Fly 'em off, Johnny.
But come over to my channel. Seriously, guys. It's Coco Plays. Actually, no, I don't have that channel.
They're going to subscribe to somebody else's channel who actually calls it that.
Yeah, sure. We can go to that guy's channel. I bet he's good. I bet he's a good guy.
All right, so this has been Jason and Eric, and there was someone else here. I don't remember.
I think his name was Trevor.
Yeah, sounds like it.